Good morning, everybody. While we're waiting for council members, is there anybody from Genoha who's here? Excuse me, can you raise your hand? Why don't you come have a seat right here at the front? When we get started, we have some questions. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to turn the meeting over after this beginning part at 9:30 to Councilmember Harris, who is overseeing a lot of the issues related to housing. I would like a representative of Genoha to come to the table, though. Well, I thought somebody was here. No. If somebody from Genoa is here, and I want them to come down. Andronika is not the only spokesperson. So come on. I mean, I have very basic questions that I think deserve a public vetting. And so if Genoha wants to do certain things, then Genoha can answer for those. And I'll just say this, we're not starting the meeting until Genoha comes to the table. So you can delay everybody in this room as a result of not coming.
Is she here today?
No, she's coming down.
Okay.
The 9:30 agenda meeting.
All right. Is this is Andronika Morris's agent?
Yes, it is. And here's the issue, so everybody knows. Apparently, somebody with what appears to be Genoha approval has sent text messages sending every council member's personal cell phone number on. Now, I think everybody in this audience knows that we have obviously personal cells. A number of us are lawyers, and other people have other business interests that is what that is used for. We also obviously have city email and staff to help answer questions. And candidly, part of democracy, let me be very clear, is making sure that we hear from the public. I have gotten lots of advocacy emails and phone calls in our office on a number of different topics. But to send out people's personal cell phones is truly one of the most unprofessional things I've seen in 8 years of government.
Well, Councilman, let me say this, and there's always moments where people show you who they are. Well, I found out a whole lot during this election.
I hear you.
I find and so when people show you who they are, so it's like I can be clear, right? And there are people who say they represent people, but they only represent them for their interests. And for anyone who would do something like that, it's one of the most selfish, mean-spirited things that I've ever seen. And y'all know I try to get along with everybody. And I've never seen someone stoop that low. And I've dealt with a lot of people, many cases, who are very volatile and very angry, but they've never done anything like that.
I mean,
That's probably a person in an agency that shouldn't exist, to be honest with you.
I just want to add something right quick, Joe.
yeah.
Many of us, like you said, obviously our personal cell phones are for our personal business, but more importantly, many of us have children, many of us have families.
The attacks on officials today?
I'm getting there.
Yeah, good,
when you
good.
when you talk about how there are literally national and even local examples of individuals who are volatile, attacking and targeting public officials with violence.
Yes.
To go, I mean, let's be very candid. This is doxing. This is basically an organization deciding to SWAT the city council because they disagree with a policy decision. And for the advocates out there, y'all know when we meet with heads of organizations and they ask for our personal cell phone numbers, we are usually very freewheeling to give them to people who need them. To literally put our personal cell phones in a text message you blast out for the purpose of harassing us, I mean, to say it's unconscionable, I now have to worry about if I get a call from someone, an unknown number, is it someone harassing it or is it my child's school talking about a school shooter? Is it my doctor calling back with a test or is it an irate person who searched emails on the internet to find my personal cell phone number? I don't know what the plan was, and let me be very clear. If the person doing this thought it was gonna stop the council from doing something, I will tell you it has the opposite effect. All you've done is unite the council in the position that if you are this volatile and you made this decision saying you deserve to be on a public board, you just disqualified yourself and your organization.
How much longer? All right, Ms. Morris, please come have a seat. This morning, a number of us received a text message that reads as follows. I won't read the contact info. Please contact your council member today. Tell them, in caps, not to remove GNOHA from the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee as political retribution for the organization's advocacy. GNOHA has led affordable housing advocacy in New Orleans for nearly 20 years and helped create the HTF, the Housing Trust Fund. Removing GNOHA silences the only coalition fighting for residents and affordable housing citywide. The council should strengthen, not silence, community voices, and then has council contact information for every council member and their personal cell phone.
Good morning. Andronika Morris, President of the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance. I didn't hear a question in that statement, Mr.
Ma'am,
Member.
you really don't know what the question is? The question is, how did this text get sent, and under whose authority?
That text is not from the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance. When we send out political texts, we have to put our name on them because we pay for a service that requires that we do that. That text did not come out from our system. In fact,
Wait, I'm gonna ask a better question. Who at GNOHA authorized the text to be sent?
no one authorized that text because that text was not sent out as a part of our ongoing campaign around the Housing Trust Fund. We intentionally talked about the upcoming resolution that the council, the ordinance amendment, that the council is going to be talking about tomorrow.
Ma'am,
Our
I think
strategy-
you need to stick to the questions right now, all right? The question is very clear.
So the
There is
answer
a
is
text.
no
There
one.
is a text message that says GNOHA is being booted for something,
Mm-hmm.
and lists council members' contact information.
Yes?
You are sitting here unequivocally, disavowing that GNOHA sent the text message, yes?
Yes.
And you're also unequivocally saying and disavowing that GNOHA has nothing to do with this.
Correct.
How is it possible then that this text message gets sent?
That we told people what was happening with the ordinance amendment tomorrow. When we were discussing with our partners about the strategy around it, our strategy internally was that we were not going to be addressing it except to come and speak tomorrow about it, and that if anyone else wanted to do anything about it, they were free to do so independently.
Yeah.
Let me answer the question. And that we were going to focus on today's hearing, the information to share with this council, to talk about so the council can understand the issues inside of the housing market, the issues and the investment opportunities, and the investments that are going to be made by the other partners inside of the ecosystem, and that so the council could make decisions about how the trust fund dollars should be invested. That was our focus.
All that is irrelevant to this line of questioning.
Okay.
What is relevant is there any organization at all that you are familiar with that put this out? And if you did not pull the trigger, then how does GNOHA escape culpability from this? And third, what has GNOHA done to disavow this unequivocally and said this is not what we stand for?
So let's break those questions down.
And stick to the questions.
Well, you asked a compound question in 3 different ways.
No, I asked 3 different questions.
Okay,
Start with the first one,
which was?
which was I want to make sure again that there's no organization that GNOHA is affiliated with that put out this text message.
No.
All right. There is no organization that
Not that,
GNOHA is
and so wait, to go back to that question, I don't think so. And there's no one we asked, and there's no one, I mean, you guys got the text. Who sent them to you?
we don't know. And the bottom line is
Wait,
you're
so-
in a better position to know that.
How would so someone sent the text to you, correct? Someone got the text. So someone sent you a text that they received?
This is obviously a texting campaign, and it references GNOHA repeatedly in it.
So
what
again-
you're saying, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. this is your summation of your argument. Ganoa did not authorize this. Ganoha knows nothing about it, and Ganoha has nothing to do with it, even though Ganoha is fully referenced in the text message.
Correct. So again,
You
I'm
find
asking-
that plausible?
Yes, because you know how texting works, right?
Ma'am.
So
Yes,
okay,
I'm
so
familiar
someone-
with how
so
texting
someone
works.
texted.
Yes, I'm
someone-
familiar with how the internet works. I'm familiar with how to make
Good.
phone calls.
So you
Okay, thank
got
you.
a text.
Councilman Druso, could I add something? This is a very circular argument. I appreciate that you were very clear in saying that your strategy, and listen, everyone, we can play it tape. Your strategy was you were doing one thing but you told your partners they are free to do something else.
Yes.
That's what you said, correct.
Yeah, because people
I'm going to say
ask-
one thing to everyone in this room. Do y'all remember stand back and stand by? Do y'all remember what that was from? Do y'all remember, for those, that was when Donald Trump, during a debate, told the Proud Boys, stand down but stand by. That is what happens when
Am I
organizations,
Trump?
that
Am I
is what
Trump?
happens
Am I
when
Donald Trump in that scenario? Am I
absolutely.
Donald Trump?
That is what happens when an organization says, I'm not telling you what to do, but you go do your thing so that I can't take responsibility for it. If you are in a strategic meeting saying, here's what we intend to do, but y'all do your own thing, and this comes out, for you to say that you have no link or tie to this really underestimates the intelligence of everybody in this room and literally every single person, period. Because if this text benefits you, and you're not saying for someone to do this is beyond the pale, and it's horrible, and it's doxing, what I don't hear from you is that. I don't hear from you saying it is completely unprofessional for anyone to publish people's personal cell phone numbers that their families, that their coworkers, that their loved ones use to contact them to harass them over a political decision. We have public-facing emails, public-facing phone numbers. This is doxing. And the fact you, in your entire exchange with Mr. Geruso, never spoke out against the doxing says something about you.
So to that point, I think that was the third question that the council member had asked, because heretofore, I have not been allowed an opportunity. I'm trying to understand what's happening, what's going on, because the first time I became aware of this was I received a text from Councilwoman Harris saying, texting people's personal cell phone numbers inappropriate. My response to her is, good morning, what are you talking about? That was happening as I was driving here. So that was the first I heard of it, and then I walked in to this. So me condemning something that I don't have a full handle on, again, I see your anger, you're upset, you're concerned.
So you think you have no responsibility to condemn it? You, just based on, wait, time out. Based on the plain reading of the language, you think you're absolved from condemning it?
I didn't say that.
Well then, condemn it.
So
Condemn it.
I
Condemn
you want
it.
me to condemn someone saying, this is bad what you all are doing, what you're considering, and then that they use your personal emails, your personal cell phone numbers. I can condemn that. I can say they should not have used your personal cell phones. I can say that.
I mean, don't you think that's kind of a weak, they shouldn't have used your personal cell phones? Like, this is not the way we should do
Mr.
business
Chairman,
in
Mr.
America.
Chairman, I think everyone in this room is reading the room, reading the demeanor of the person here, and she is not very upset that we all got doxxed. Let's just move on to the rest of the meeting. I think that we're done here. I think that if you, if you, for everyone in this room, if your personal cell phone numbers were leaked in an effort to forward someone's agenda, this is literally the same demeanor of when Donald Trump told the Proud Boys to stand down. Oh, it benefits me, but no, don't do that. That's too much. But be on standby. Your demeanor, the way you represented, it says enough in itself. Mr. Chair, let's move on to the meeting.
I'll
It's
do
not
it,
worth it.
differently to close this up. I'll go with Henry II. You know about Henry II, what he said? Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest? That's what Ganoha did here. You didn't pull the trigger, but you asked for it to be done.
Are y'all the priests?
In the metaphor,
And I'm the king? And y'all are the priests?
apparently, you're having trouble with the metaphor.
I am.
And how text messaging works and how things go. So at the risk of not alienating everybody else in the audience today, you're dismissed.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome to Housing Day at City Council. The first up is our Office of Homelessness Strategies and Services. And let me say, as we move into this presentation, that I'm really proud of this agency and what it's done. We had a goal of housing 1,500 people by the end of this year, and we're 95% of the way there. So we have done yeoman's work. As a city funding our Office of Homelessness Strategies and Services, which I always get wrong, and partnering with our nonprofits to make this happen. If Councilmember Green were here, he would say we need additional state dollars to continue this work, and I'm sure we will hear that as this presentation goes on. But Nate Fields, if you could start your presentation. Do you have a PowerPoint?
Absolutely.
Allison, can you work the PowerPoint?
I think I have it. Oh. Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I wanted to go through a couple of things, and please forgive me.
Nate, let me stop you in the middle. That microphone does not work.
All
If you
right.
could just scoot over to one or the other.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me? All right. Thank you for allowing me to present today. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things that we have been focused and working on in the last year and a half. And we wanted to really point out some of these goals that we wanted to focus on going into 2026. The first one was work on zone closures in the French Quarter and Central Business District, ensuring no street sleeping in the CBD, but offering shelter and housing components to be able to help those individuals into a housing process. Point two, work with New Orleans Health Department on creating a plan and process for complex need cases. We have persons who are severely mentally ill, dealing with addiction, and also displaced, and we wanted to make sure that we help that really hard case, those individuals who don't meet the regular criteria for just going to a sheltering or housing process, be able to transition into a safe, livable space and make sure that they get the help that they actually need. Point three, work with City Council on ways to get funding and continued homeless services grant writing. One of the things that I asked for when I first came in was trying to get a grant writer in place to be able to self-sustain. One of the things that we do know is that a lot of the funds that we're getting is coming from general funding, and we don't want to bog down the system. If there is a way for us to be able to write for grants to get additional funding into the city that doesn't exist currently, we want to explore those ways and also work with the City Council talking about taxation and other ways that we can deploy money and resources to individuals who are experiencing homelessness in Orleans Parish. Point four, work with the state for funding and resources. We have been working closely with LSP. We want to get deeper into that relationship with the state to be able to bring in new resources to be able to continue the housing process. We got to 1,422 by working with all those braided resources in the three pathways. Imagine if we had consistent funding coming from the state partnerships, we could actually do more in a shorter period of time. And lastly, work on pathways for families and teens within our current housing system. We have, in Orleans Parish, the only youth shelter in the entire state. We need to be able to work with them on ways to be able to help the youth and young adults. And our family shelters are top-notch. I can't say more to them than thank you for all of your work, because they are able to navigate some of the hardest of hard cases in the last couple of months, and they're only getting worse. I just got a phone call yesterday that we have several families who are currently experiencing homelessness, sleeping in their cars. And we had teams that went out last night to try to explore some of that to find out that that is actually true. I've gotten calls from every single office in here about issues like this, and now what we're trying to do is trying to connect those individuals in this LAF pathway to all of the services the right way. Not only being able to help and work with Unity of Greater New Orleans and Travelers Aid, but also work with each office in here to make sure that we divert individuals into services before they fall into situations that they're living in their cars. We are at the 95% point. I wish we could have updated this slide last night when we got the numbers in, but we actually are at 1,422 individuals housed since we started this process. This is an amazing feat. The goal is 1,500. We are in the right direction, but we still need to get over those hurdles. There are some ways that we can still meet the need of the individuals that we're serving, but we want you to know that we are meeting the goals that we have put in place since the time we've conceived the office and have grown exponentially within a short period. So we have a couple of positions. We have grown a lot since we've been here, and we have added several positions. More than recently, our complex case team has been brought on board and have been working various shifts, not just an 8 to 4, but they also work 1 to 8 and have worked even later within the CBD French Quarter with a focus on the complex need cases. Those individuals are individuals who can't sustain on their own. They can go into a hospital process but wind up back on the street again. And we have helped a generous amount of those individuals since they've come on. They have now been with us going into their 5th week, and we love them so much for all of their hard work that they've been doing and helping us within our process. But we originally asked for 15 positions. We are now up to 12 positions. And we understand that there were budget restraints, and the CAO's office has helped us navigate what those are. We understood that when this happened that we would not be able to fill those additional positions, and we understood that those positions will be pulled back in because of those budget restraints. But we're hoping that in the future we can continue with those positions, and we understand that there are some problematic areas.
So our office met with Nate on Monday. And so what happens too, because some people may be asking, why does it say 12 versus 7? So Nate's office was one of the few places that got an exemption for the hiring freeze under general fund. That took place after the personnel part of the budget was completed. And so there would be additional $431,000 we would need to fund their office with at the personnel level in order to keep those staff there. For the 3 additional positions that he's referencing, the social workers, that's a $214,000. For his larger financial tasks for that fiscal position, our special projects, our grants team, they're going to assist him with that, so we're not going to fill that position right now. And then the grants, of course, we talked to him about grants as well on Monday. So for those 2 administrative positions, we'll work internally in CAO to give direct support. But for the service on the ground, we can't do that for him. So those are the costs that we need if that's going to be fulfilled by council.
Thank you. So here are the budget differences. When we first came in, our adopted budget was at a grand total of $11 million. Proposed budget for 2026 was $6 million, and the variance was $4 million. So we are trying to figure out how to fill some of these gaps. Well, looking at this budget, it's going to be pretty tough. I know that we're going to have to use a lot of imagination if we can't get the additional funding, but that puts us at a really tough space because we won't be able to continue some of the processes that we have started. One of my fears is us going backwards with encampments and other tasks that we might have been already working on. We've already seen an uptick because we can't keep up with the inflow. So looking at this budget right now is a little concerning, but I do understand that we have to fill in some gaps financially to be able to move forward those processes.
So I would just comment that when we set the budget for this office, it was based upon actuals and projections, what was spent. So the request for last year is not even halfway obligated. And so that's how the budget was updated. So we talked about a plan again on Monday. So his presentation was done. We met Monday about some other issues. So we have some other special pots of funding should it need to be fulfilled next year. But right now we haven't met all those goals. So we don't want to over encumber that money now.
So the impact on the budget, especially when we...
Excuse me, yeah, I don't want to gloss over that because, I mean, you use your accounting and your professional terms there, but I think in layman terms, for people who are paying attention, they didn't spend the money that they were allocated.
Right, across all funding sources for this office, $9.8 million was available in other operating. To date, only encumbered and paid is $4.8 million. We're rounding the end of the year, purchases are cut off. There's not an expectation for us to even get to that, so we still left wiggle room of $1 million on top of where we're at to ensure that the office can survive the way they've been proceeding this year
Yes.
already.
So based what was allocated last year and what has been spent, you guys thought it was safe to take a reduction because everything that was allocated hadn't been spent so far this year, and we're at the end of the year.
You're correct. So from our office, the biggest concern is the personnel part, and making sure he has the full staffing support from there.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm acting as a translator now.
Thank you.
So the other thing you're saying, that if it comes to a point where that money is spent, then there are other pockets of funds potentially to make up the difference for the shortfall that's been dedicated for next year's budget.
Correct. Yes, not general funds. Not general funds, but yes.
I speak a few languages. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for translating, Councilmember Thomas. I think that's good news for all of us to hear.
Yes.
And we met on Monday, but it's just like these are completed, and we have to just work through these situations individually.
I understand we're all going on the fly at this point.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Absolutely. So with the shelter constraints, if we are not careful, my concern there is that we will be out of shelter space. We won't be able to take individuals into the low barrier shelter if we don't continue moving forward with housing the individuals from the shelter level. It can be risky because we have folks who have been there still to this day, 5 years or more. And that can be really concerning when we're trying to talk about a housing process and getting people to transition out of the location into permanent supportive housing. If we continue to go in that direction, the bottleneck will always be an issue, and then we go back towards encampments.
I just want to point out that this particular expenditure is not part of this office's budget. The budget for the low barrier shelter resides in the CAO's office, and to the point that would impact the work being done, but those numbers are not included in this presentation for that budget.
So the mayor's office has the budget for low barrier shelter.
The low barrier shelter operations
Operations.
was originally an Office of Community Development. Since they're not operating, they gave it up, and so we put it in CAO's budget. So that team who does some of the higher financial work in the CAO's office for Nate's office, they manage the funding for that and do the contract work for them as well.
And we know that Odyssey House has been paid.
They have not had any delays in payments to my knowledge. They have worked with us the last third quarter and fourth quarter, and instead of taking the full quarter payment at one time, they divided into 2 payments to help the city's cash flow.
Okay, I see Odyssey House behind you, Brandy. Hi, y'all. Thank you for your work.
So, and the other piece, before I get too deep into this, the United Way funding that we were talking about earlier, Councilman Thomas, wasn't spent because those dollars are for rental. So you'll start seeing uptick in that spending actually happening in January and February when that money's actually start to spend down because the individuals were just recently housed. So I just wanted to make sure we clarify that point. But encampments reforming, due to the loss of shelter space and housing outflows, we will start seeing people gather again. That is a concerning piece. We want to make sure that we use up all of the shelter space for individuals who are in the housing process. The low barrier shelter removes a lot of those restraints that a lot of the other shelters cannot do so. For instance, animals. That is a big piece. We have people who have multiple animals, service animals, and others to keep them safe while they're in the street process. We are one of the only shelters that allows persons to bring in those animals to be with them while they're working on their housing process. Without that being in place, we have an issue with people sticking together on the street level. And as we have already seen, we have multiple fires that have happened in the last couple of days because people are trying to stay warm underneath the bridge areas, which we have also addressed starting early this morning. The public safety piece, we know that working with the DA's office and the No Dice program, that if you look at maps of individuals who huddle in different areas, there's crime-ridden areas because of the fact that people have predatory behaviors and go after those individuals in those encampments. We have had several phone calls over the years that lead us to understand that if we do not deal with the encampments, the crime becomes problematic in those areas. When I talk about what happened in the Treme, We have several incidents where people were beaten, hurt, or even killed within the encampment areas because of the individuals who are there being predatory and coming in to harm those individuals. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. We don't want to take away from the police department. We are thankful for MCIU coming on board and helping us with those severe mental health issues, but we don't want to be burdensome on that system. If we cannot do one thing, anything in this, we want to try to get back to the housing resources will allow us to free up space in those shelters and get individuals into the shelter spaces, which are a lot safer because of the work of Odyssey House, but also continue the housing process with United Way, who have been amazing partners in helping us get individuals case management, mental health, and addiction services, as well as employment. So these individuals are going to housing processes, but the case managers there have also helped them get jobs and be able to sustain on their own. Yes, we get them in the door, but with Odyssey House and United Way at the table, we're keeping people in the housing process at 92%. So human services is a really hard space, and since I've been here, we've dealt with a couple of cuts that have made it really hard. One of those cuts was the grant writer position, which will allow us to be able to self-sustain, like I stated earlier today. But one of the other things that I want to think about is all of the other partnerships that we have worked through to be able to get to this point of sustainability. And one of the persons that we have currently had at the table was the state. They helped us with some bids at the low barrier shelter to be able to hold them and put them in place so that we can be able to navigate individuals into those bids and out of those bids quickly doing the FQMD work. We want to continue that process. However, if these budget cuts continue, that does affect that work. The state funding was a short-term interim funding that allowed us to divert people quickly, and we called it rapid exits. We want to continue doing that process, especially now with our families being potentially targeted. We want to continue that work, and if we can find ways to get monies to do that work, we would love to do so. Revenue generating ideas that I came up with was, of course, we need private philanthropic dollars to be at the table. We need these businesses. We need folks who just want to be good doers and come out and see the work. It's one thing to sit back and say, hey, where are my dollars going at? If you come out and see the work that we're doing and understand that there are individuals who are currently in this room who were once living in our shelters who are now in the housing process, it's because of those philanthropic dollars. It's because of what City Council has done and because of all the efforts that you put in place. There's now 1,422 people in the housing process because of everyone that's in this room, and we are more than thankful for all of your hard work. But we want to continue that process. We're also talking about tax dollars. When we look at the tourism, we have people who are coming in here to New Orleans from everywhere in the world. When individuals are living in the encampments, it affects that bottom line. We don't want people to come in here feeling threatened when they see encampments grow on corners and street areas, but we also need a way to filtrate that system to get people off those streets and into our housing process. The shelter has been our best avenue to be able to do so. One of the things that we had talked about earlier is having a bridge into our housing process. So we took the low barrier shelter and we helped with Odyssey House to transform what that looks like. Between Odyssey House and United Way, we have found a way to create a process for an individual to go into a location short term and then transition into a permanent housing solution. Unity has helped us bridge people from rapid rehousing into permanent supportive housing. We want to continue that process. The difference is that when Unity receives funding, they do not get the gap filler of rapid rehousing to be able to grab people immediately and move them into a housing process. The dollars that we have for rapid rehousing allowed us to do so that we can transition people without them having breaks in time and space. The documentation process can take almost up to a year to get somebody into a housing process, but with rapid rehousing dollars, we have had multiple landlords who have come to the table to work with us to grab people while they're working on their documentation, and then once their documentation is done, bridge them over to permanent supportive housing solutions. And that is the work of all of the individuals that we stated today. Lastly, we worked on a sustainability plan. The sustainability plan tells us that we have a huge amount of individuals who are being dumped within our parish. I asked for numbers from all of our shelter providers, and the shelter providers have shown me that we have had 127 people dropped at the Ozanam Inn. We've had 61 individuals dropped, and this is over an 8-month period at the low barrier shelter. We've had multiple individuals who have been pulled up at the Mission, and these people can't handle their ADLs or activities of daily living. They're the young persons who can't take care of themselves, the person who can't see, read, or write. the individuals who went to the hospital and then got dropped off in front of the shelter, and it's unfair to those providers to continue to deal with that. What I'm asking for is a way for us to be able to communicate to other parishes and maybe even the state that we cannot continue to do this to our shelter providers. The shelter providers take on a lot every single day, but when I get a phone call at 9 p.m. at night from one of my directors saying to me, we have no way to help this individual, what do? That becomes problematic to everyone, and we don't want to put them on the street, so they never do that. So they always are stuck with individuals, and then we work on 6 to 9 months to get a person who isn't from our parish into a housing process or to a better and safer location when we shouldn't have to do that at all. So if there is a way that we can sit and talk about how to get assistance from other parishes or even the state to be able to help with these individuals when they come in contact with them, it'd be greatly appreciated. And that's what I have for you today.
So one of the items that came up when we talked about the coroner's payments, there's a state statute, RS 28:53. These are for the admission by emergency certificates where we get bills from other parishes when we have people who are there for these situations. And I don't know what the process is, but that may be the solution to this, because we've heard before that parishes will come in and they're bringing their problems over to us and our tax dollars are paying for it. If it's a way for us to have something similar where we're sending the bills to these parishes because we're taking care of their residents, that could possibly be a solution here as well.
Thank you, Brandy. I think that's an important point, and I've spoken to Grace at the Green Light, the Mission, Oz and Amen, Low Barrier Shelter, and you're absolutely right. People are getting dropped off from other parishes, and the state is looking at New Orleans like we're some sort of outlier, and these are all of our folks. And let me be clear, I've had at least 3 neighbors who have fallen into homelessness because of the economic issues that our city and our country faces. But to have people from out of parish that we then have to take care of with our own money, we need the state to step in, or we need some reimbursement from those other parishes.
Correct.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I mean, that achievement to almost 95% for what you have done, even when you started with limited resources, to getting support from agencies and Councilmember Harris and the administration and City Council. Nate, you've done a really a yeoman's job, man. So bless you for that, and I think the fruit is in your labor. There are a couple things I want to address that you mentioned. During the freeze, a few things were brought to our attention. I think I talked to you, a lot of us did, when you talk about families and families who were forced into shelter. Two of the situations were really grave because one young woman had her young boys and young daughters with her, and they were almost like they were prey for some of the older men who had, it's obvious they had addiction, economic or mental problems. How do we protect, especially with the growing number, whether it's the economy happening now, gentrification or whatever the other issues, inner cities becoming less affordable, how do we protect families moving forward? Because it shouldn't be a revelation to anyone. In urban areas like this, people have been living in and out of their cars depending on how the economy is. That ain't new. It's also not new that other parishes and other cities give people one-way bus tickets, train tickets, or they'll have a van drop them off in New Orleans. But Councilmember Harris, the irony is that we are a pass-through to fund projects all over the state, but the state doesn't look at its obligation to fund when other parts of the state send their problems here. So I think that needs to be part of a realistic discussion moving forward, where the business community, political community, the council, and the new administration actually have those sophisticated conversations about, so we're good enough to be a pass-through and keep very little money from Super Bowl and from Taylor Swift, where the money ran through his Swift. But when y'all encourage people from around the state to drop your problems off here, we don't get a check with it. That has to be a new conversation. But how do we protect families and kids moving forward, especially given some of the extreme situations that arose during some of the events recently?
it becomes really difficult. Right now, just in speaking to Unity on a regular basis, their family shelters are almost at capacity every single day. If we can get folks into those services, we do. They have even run through monies that they were using to hotel individuals. So now it is them trying to problem solve when they come in contact with a family, and it becomes really difficult, especially if you have a mother who is escaping domestic violence. We reach over to all of the different service providers, family justice, and everyone else, and they are just, at this point, everybody is overwhelmed with how many families we are coming in contact with. It is hard for us all to keep up with those numbers, but we try to do case by case and resolve those issues as best as we can. But one of the things that we were talking about earlier was creating a diversion pot, hopefully with Housing Trust Fund and other dollars, to be able to catch those families before they fall into those situations, possibly get them into some interim housing or some hoteling for a short period of time while we're working on getting them to a housing process permanently.
And two other issues. It is increasingly, especially given the fact that fentanyl and there are a lot of cheap drugs back out there, like what happened during the crack days, is that drug dealers and people who push the cartels and others are preying on encampments. They're actually waiting to see that gathering so they can target that area. I think you did an exemplary job in Treme of at least getting the police. What has to be done, especially given the economic situation we're in right now, and the fact that the federal government, because of its inaction, can potentially push more people in more urban communities into that problem. How do we deal with that part on the front end?
So, I mean, working with No Dice has given me a lot of light on these situations, but No Dice, Daniel Shanks, shout out to him and his team. They came to the table and helped us work through all of those processes. Blighted property in the area were problematic, so we worked on getting those things taken care of quickly, even from cutting grass to the smallest things as removing vehicles, helped us with all of those different things. Abating those very visual problems helped to cut down on crime in those areas. And then when we started to divide the encampment and get those persons into a housing process, what we realized is that the drug dealers would follow them into a housing process. So the No Dice program worked closely with NOPD and LSP to divert those bad actors away from those areas and be able to follow and capture them as quickly as possible. And that helped out a lot, especially with those individuals newly into a housing process. It helped them cut down a lot of those problematic areas. And we still work through some of the issues with the persons who are housed and unhoused when it comes to those issues.
And Councilmember Harris, moving forward, when you talk about money, philanthropy, grants, funds, of course, you know, we can't seem to depend on federal and state government. So increasingly, it seems like local communities, especially urban areas, until they want them, are kind of being forgotten. But in the past, decades ago, the business community was committed to funding the Legacy Project, which would have been about $30 million or so. And I'm bringing that up because when you clear an area, especially in a commercial corridor, you're adding to the economic viability of that business person in that area, which we should do anyway. No one should be put out of business because we can't deal with a lot of the social ills in this community. But maybe there can be a transition or a conversation that if this corridor, because is benefited economically, then how does a portion or a percentage of that windfall or an investment from them go to a special fund to help what you do? Now, I don't know that we can ever revisit Legacy or some of the other things, but I think it's an opportunity when you can show when the work is being done with this agency and agencies here that support this, that then, you know, maybe the goodness of their heart or community responsibility, when they do well economically, then maybe a portion of those funds could help go into a fund to support this.
Thank you. I actually
Thank
see
you.
Michael Williamson from United Way, if you want to come down to talk about Home for Good and some of the philanthropic efforts that you've undertaken. I know you have a card, but I actually, if you could sit at the table, that'd be helpful. Councilmember Thomas, to your point, we have tried to communicate with the business community, especially those folks who complain about the unhoused, to say, put your money where your mouth is. Help us on these efforts. And we've done that through Home for Good. We have some philanthropic dollars, but we could use even more. Michael, if you want to talk about Home for Good and your role
Yeah.
in in helping our unhoused population.
Yeah, I just think, I think especially given the light of what Councilmember Morella said in the last few months about special events, what we learned over the decades about special events, and what we learned in terms of Super Bowl and concerts and what it cost us to Taylor Swift and what it, but we didn't really benefit from those events. So, but those businesses do. Hotels do because of occupancy. Restaurants and other places do because of reservations. And then the state and the other tax recipient bodies, they take theirs off the top. So we're left with what's left here in Orleans Parish, and we're the goose that lays the golden egg, so it shouldn't be a spoiled egg for us, a rotten egg. So how do we enter into conversations now, especially since these conversations are so current, about, yes, you know, your hotel benefited, your resident benefited, your business benefited, so how do we benefit in certain critical areas like this?
I mean, I think honestly, we continue to bring some of them to the table. We've been working closely with, of course, United Way, Odyssey House, and now the DDD with helping to patrol some of those high traffic areas, especially around hotel and tourism. So I think that those are some of the conversations we need to just continue.
Well, and I think we have sorry to interrupt, but I'm very passionate about this. I think we have a good example of what the convention center did, which is closure maintenance. They actually put up money to close a former encampment that we housed all the people from.
Yep. Yep.
And then they're maintaining that closure by vegetation, by activation, and this is what the business community needs to understand. This is what the state needs to understand, that we need closure maintenance money as well as housing money.
Correct.
Yeah, so I would certainly add, and I think it goes without saying that, there is private philanthropic support for efforts like this, and thankfully the creation of Home for Good and a more coordinated effort makes it easier for corporate and private philanthropy to invest, and certainly United Way and other partners can help facilitate that happening. So making that easier, showing results, which we've shown, I'm sure you've heard already, just the amazing results we've seen as far as just through our prosperity centers and supporting the rapid rehousing, the number of families that we've helped house. We often pair our local resources that we raise in the community to offer additional wraparound support, which I think is equally necessary. But I think it's safe to say that the overall strategy, Home for Good in particular, has been remarkably successful. Momentum is at a significant level, and it's certainly something that we as an organization are looking at. How do we double down and ensure that we're leveraging whatever philanthropic capital we have to support the work going forward? And so, because we've seen just amazing results, but private philanthropy can stand in the gap. It can't solve the problem alone, obviously.
Council Vice President Moreno.
Thank you. Good morning. On your slide 6, where you have the variances, explain to me the other operating, which is about 3.89 million less. What are you, first, that 3.89, is that coming from the general fund or not?
So I believe it is general
Most of
funding.
it's general fund.
That's,
Yes.
so that 3.89 is all general fund. What are your operating expenses going toward, and what would we be losing if this 3.89 is not funded?
So that money goes towards the rapid rehousing programs currently, which United Way has helped us not only get 200 plus individuals into the housing process, but sustain. So what you'll see is right now, it is a slow buildup, but by January, February, you'll actually start seeing large chunks of that money come out as they're doing rental rolls.
Got it. Okay, so this money is going to our partners.
Correct.
Got it, okay. And then the other question I had was, recently we were alerted by CAO threat of, there were some fires underneath one of the overpasses. Is that city property or state property?
So it's state property, and some of the areas in that particular area are state. Some areas are city managed through joint use agreement.
Okay, but overall, it seems like you, Nate, and our partners on the city level are seeming to be kind of solely responsible for clearing these encampments and dealing with this. Does that appear to be the case?
Well, we've been working with all of our partners to be able to clear the locations. I've been boots on the ground, and then I have certain individuals from TASNO and from Unity who have also been partnering at that particular location. Unity has done the referrals, TASNO has done referrals, and then we have helped with the city side between state and city to clear the encampments and clear the areas.
Okay, because I guess my point is, if this is state property, then we really need more investment from the state in coming in to assist here. I mean, I just feel like so often that all the responsibility lies on you to solve all these issues, when oftentimes there are issues that are arising on what's actually state property and state responsibility. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so I think with that, I think we need to start having additional conversations with our state partners about what that level of investment could be, due to the fact that we are having to handle the issues that they should be handling. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we've had those conversations, but as we go forward, certainly we need to have more of those conversations. The emergency shelter that the state put up cost $17 million when we had an ask of about $8.1 million from the state. So they could have housed those people for many years, given the cost of the temporary shelter that cost $17 million. Councilmember King.
Good morning, Mr. Fields. And I want to say thank you to your team for all the work that you do. You have one of the most difficult jobs in the city, and you do it well, so thank you.
Thank you.
I want to touch on some specific spots in District C. Homelessness has touched every part of the city. I think that District C has maybe the highest concentration with the French Quarter being what it is. Also the Meriden neighborhood. So in the Meriden, Checkpoint Charlie, I don't want to highlight that building or that establishment, but it's a large population of, is it unhoused, or is it the term that I've heard is gutter punks?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the difference, if you can explain it to the public, and what's the group in front of that area, because it's very kind of a seedy area, right?
It's a combination of both. So the gutter punks are persons who come here for a seasonal pleasure. They come down, it's warm, they have fun, it's festive season, they hang out. They're transient population. They don't really want services. They don't seek services. They just come down here to enjoy that which is of New Orleans culture. Then the unhoused population of those who cannot do for themselves, who are wanting to get services and can't get connected. On that particular area is a combination of both. And at the end of Checkpoint Charlie's, right, when you start to go towards Frenchman, you have a group of individuals who have been taking advantage of that blighted property that's right there. Once again, if you have blight, you have empty buildings and locations, people tend to go to those locations because of less foot traffic. However, it's making that area really hard to be able to work in. NOPD has done an amazing job in the last couple of weeks to be able to help abate some of the issues, but as soon as they leave or it's the end of the night, they come right back. We've also had Unity go out every single night since you had the email chain that went out to tell us to go to that location, and every single night they have helped house or shelter someone from that location, but people continue to come back. So we're trying to find a way to be able to rid that area, but it becomes really problematic because lighting, foot traffic, and enforcement are something that we need consistently on that particular corner. And we just had a meeting with some members of your team to be able to up what those things look like to be able to abate the problem in that particular area.
Okay. Thank you. You mentioned Frenchman. It's the entrance to the Meriden Triangle, and it's pretty rough. You know, so how do you help the housing, those who need housing, and not help, or do you still help the transient?
So we've done both. We work very closely with groups like Grace at Green Light. We have worked with Travelers Aid to be able to reconnect them to home. If those individuals are willing to go, they have helped them get hundreds of thousands of individuals connected to service. Grace of the Green Light did 3,500 individuals in 1 year. That's a lot of folks to be able to help them get back home and get reconnected to their families. Some folks do get stranded, and we understand the difference between the two, and we have been good with referring them into the programs that will help and work with them the best. Some persons get down here and they become problematic, and that's when we work closely with LSP and NOPD to be able to get them from those areas. And that's not a big portion of the individuals, but in that particular area, it is problematic, and we need to sit down with the state as well as NOPD in the next couple of weeks to be able to go back and target that particular area. I had a conversation with Johnny Broomfield and Gittrich Bronson from NOPD 8th District, and they are willing to be able to help us abate what that corner is currently to get us some needed resolve.
All right. Great to hear. So moving further down to the district, you have Crescent Park, which has become a very popular spot for both groups. And the residents are now saying, one, we don't feel safe in the park. Two, the spots in the park are filled with waste and needles. What can be done? And I'm asking these questions in public because I get asked them a lot on the emails and in private. So what can be done with Crescent Park?
Crescent Park is hard. The issue is that being able to secure the wharf areas where we can't easily walk down and get to. We have been able to clear it for some portions, but it's a multi-layered area. There are some individuals, for instance, there was a gentleman who was in the wharf area who did not speak English. I had to bring out one of my staffers who are usually admin staff to go down there and communicate to him that we could get him into services. He then abated and left the area, but as soon as he left, 5 more people came back. So that becomes the problem in that particular area. And if they make it down towards where the 2 naval boats are, it becomes even harder because we can't go on that property without permission. So we've been doing the ping pong back and forth between the old naval base and Crescent Park. When we cleared out the last time the old naval base and swept it, those individuals got up early in the morning, they went down to the Crescent Park area and they hung out. And then we came over, we cleaned the Crescent Park area, they went back into the naval base. So we're hoping that in this next clearing of the naval base that we can actually capture the individuals before they set up shop in the Crescent Park area and help them get into services as needed. We've talked to 38 individuals that are currently at the naval base, and a lot of them have already been connected to service providers out there at TASNO or Unity of Greater New Orleans. What we need to do is have interim funding to be able to sweep them into a housing process because we won't be able to get them into traditional sheltering. Most of them won't go. If we can do that, it will be a catch-all. We can get them into a process and abate the situation. If we don't, we're going to continue to ping-pong them back and forth.
And I'm glad you mentioned the naval base. That was next, so I won't touch on that. The French Quarter. So I was in a meeting, and it was just residents and business owners, and they were pretty upset because of the human waste, the needles, just different things that you have that come with that situation. And they're saying our businesses are suffering. We can't rent out apartments because people come look at it, they got to step over, whatever. I know you all are trying. So what is the part of the solution for the French Quarter?
So, I mean, we have to get back to zone management, and we have to pick up on zone management. When we started in Zone 1, which encompasses the French Quarter, is all of the 8th District and a part of the Marigny, what we did was ongoing process with the police push and offering shelter and housing processes. When we did that consistently, we saw a huge reduction in individuals and calls and drops in the bucket. However, once we started stretching ourselves out, we noticed that we started to slide in Zone 1. We have ourselves jumping back from Zone 2 back to Zone 1 to re-engage those processes. The issue is that I have 12 people and I have all of New Orleans. And when I start pulling them from different areas to be able to not only deal with Zone 1, Zone 2, and regular 311 calls, that becomes our issue. So now we're back at the table to try to reshift what that looks like to grab Zone 1 again, get it under control, and then be able to move and spread into Zone 2 so that we can be able to keep those individuals into a process and out of those different areas.
So it sounds like you all do your best in one area of the city and/or district, and those individuals then move to another area, and you're kind of going in a circle.
Yes.
So, and I see some people, shaking their head in the background, saying that's what's happening. So, is this a situation where I know we got over a couple of, how many people were housed?
1,422.
So is this just something we're gonna have to just live with in the future? Because we got 1,400 people housed, but it's hard to tell that to somebody who lives in Marion, Bywater, French Quarter, all the parts of the city, because when they step outside or drive down the street, it doesn't look like the work is being done. And I know I see the results, I see the numbers. I've been out there with you. So it's just something that in the future we gotta just kind of just live with.
No, we don't have to live with it. If we can't continue the process with the housing process that we've already started, it will continue to go in the wrong direction. And that's the scary piece. That's why, when I first came into the office, we came in with this understanding that if we don't get the assistance in these particular areas, it is going to look like this. We want to get in there. We want to be able to use all of the resources at the table. Just yesterday, we were asking for FQMD to assist us with a housing process to grab 20 to 40 of their worst cases and be able to get them right into a housing process, and that's still in the talks right now. We need that assistance. If we want to be able to get in those individuals who are the hardest of the hardest, we have grabbed a lot. But we still have other individuals who are in there who are very problematic, who could go into a housing solution and be out of that area completely.
And I'm sorry to take up too much of your time, Councilman Harris. I have one more question and a comment. So the homeless issue, it's not just on this side of the river, District C. We also see it on the West Bank.
Yes.
I met with a group of neighbors and a retailer, and they said we're looking to maybe have to shut down because we can't afford security, and we can't afford the loss. Almost everything in the shelves almost bare. I know it's not all homeless, but I just want people to recognize this is not just one part of the city. It's all over, and it's a problem that we all have to work together to fix because it's a city that we all live in. It's not just my neighborhood or your neighborhood. It's the entire city. So my last question is, and I hear this from residents all the time, and you can help me answer this. It seems to be, you mentioned the number of people who aren't from here. I've heard that a couple hundred people in the last few months were outside of the parish, maybe within the state, but outside of the parish that we help house. So what do you tell that resident that says, or that community that says, I'm a so many generation person from this city, I'm finding it hard to get help and assistance in my own city. But it seems like, and maybe perception is not reality, it seems like folks who aren't from here are jumping the line to get service. And I'm steadily getting pushed further. We had a meeting at Charbonnet's funeral home one time, and the lady was a bus driver. She pulled up, she parked her car, she came in irate. She said, I'm a bus driver, I'm from this city, I invest in this city, I'm being evicted, and I can't get help from my own city that is helping what seems to be people from other parts of the city, other parts of the state or the region get service. What do you tell those individuals?
Absolutely. So we have helped tons of individuals who are going into eviction processes, whether talking to landlords, paying first month, rearages on BG&E, or well, you call it Entergy here, I'm sorry. But we have helped hundreds of individuals who are falling into that process, even to the point where I would literally stop what I was doing and go out and get the mother and the child, put them in my car, take them into a process, talk to the landlord, and then call United Way in the 19th hour. Mike, can you do something for me? Can you do me a favor? Whatever you need, Nate, let Shakita know. We get those processes done at 11, 12 o'clock at night where we're stopping persons from being evicted right now. So we have had partnerships. Even Odyssey House went out with me to a location with an individual who was a resident of New Orleans to help them stay in the housing. We had 2 youth who were dropped at our front door. We went and had conversations with their family members to let them back into a housing process to get them out of the sheltering. So we have dealt with that case by case when they come to our table. Some people don't know where to access all of those things from, because we don't have the ability to be able to promote all of the different avenues to get into a housing process. When it comes to families, you go talk to this person. When you talk to a single adult, you go here, and everybody doesn't have that information. And it's understandable. It is really hard to be able to get into that until you fall into that process, because a lot of people aren't paying attention. But we need to do more. If I had the finances, I would do an entire campaign around this is how you access services.
Okay. Well, Mr. Fields, again, thank you for you and your team's hard work, and I appreciate the effort and you coming here today to explain this definitely difficult circumstance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember King. Council President Morrell.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate you being here. I think you and I have yet to meet on this. We've talked about it, and I had to step out, so I don't know if you addressed this. There is a tremendous amount of client dumping when it comes to a lot of the services you provide in New Orleans. And it is frustrating to be kind of the best at what you do, so other parishes are using us to kind of wipe their hands of their responsibilities. And something that I kind of wanted to know is, of the people you're helping, how many do you think are individuals who are from surrounding our further parishes that are being sent to the city?
So, I have some numbers from some of the shelters. I couldn't put into percentage or
Right.
a definite number, but just like I was talking about earlier, just Azanim Inn has had 127 persons in an 8-month period come from our parishes. 61 in an 8-month period went to low barrier shelter. We've had another 25 or 30 in the last couple of weeks who have been going to a New Orleans mission. So those are the kind of numbers that we've been seeing in the last couple of months to weeks.
Right, and it's something we need to look at. I've been talking to our delegation, because when you look at the allotment of federal resources and state resources in different parishes based upon their ability to address these concerns, is a real question as to whether the resources are following the people. So if you are taking people, like I think we talked about Ozanin, and they had somebody literally who was in a wheelchair who was like dropped off in front in the wheelchair.
That's correct.
So we really need to look at if parishes outside New Orleans are being resourced to provide services, and then they send someone to our parish to be serviced, are those parishes still receiving the resources for those individuals and not remitting them to the parish providing them? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because from our perspective, if we're able to keep track of what parish you came from, if you want us to provide the resources you will not provide, why aren't you giving us the resources from your parish to provide the service? Because I can tell you that when they're applying for federal and state grants, they're listing all the people who are eligible, even if they're removing those people who are eligible physically from their parish. So I think there really needs to be, and I'll talk to our delegation, an effort on the state level to say, because obviously we know part of our relationship with Unity is the state placed Unity in that role. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that every similarly situated parish throughout the state, if they have resources being allocated to them, they follow the people, because we're having to do more with less, oftentimes because we're taking care of other parishes, individuals they sent to us, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, I'll work with you on that, but I really do think we need to have an accounting that if people are being sent to us from neighboring parishes, the resources need to follow them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nate, thank you. I just personally want to thank all of our partners, Odyssey House, Travelers Aid, United Way, Unity. I'm probably missing some folks, all the nonprofits who do all the good work to help us get people connected to services and the help that they need. I have 14 comment cards, y'all. These are not voting matters, but I'll give everybody a minute to speak. I know it's not a long time, but we got to get through some other housing stuff. First up is Gary Larks Jr. Gary? He stepped out. All right. Joseph Dickerson. Joseph? Yeah, Joseph.
Good afternoon, Council. I just want to say the homeless situation in New Orleans is terrible. It definitely needs the funding to keep it going for people like myself and other people in the future. And I just want to tell y'all have a blessed day and share a little love today.
Thank you so much, Joseph. K24. K24? They're outside? What? Gary's here. Oh, Gary, come on up.
Good morning. Thank you, members. I was welcomed to speak by Mr. Fields, but we have a representative from Odyssey House in my office, and I yield to them. Thank you.
Okay, there's no yielding of time, so whoever's speaking needs to fill out a card. LaFair Hebert? LaFair Hebert? Okay. Jenny Talkert?
Good morning, council members. My name is Jenny Takakura. I live in the Marigny. Good to see you, Councilmember King. I'm glad you're taking all this on. I'm greatly in support of whatever the city can do to support the organization. I want to say that in the Marigny, I think what needs to be done by the city is to hold especially commercial property owners for blight. There's two incidents or areas along Frenchman Street and Decatur that have been sat there for years. One was, Big Frida's great, hotel that was supposed to come in, did the photo op, nothing happened. Do that. Hold the people who have the money accountable for those properties that these homeless people are using for drugs. Thank you.
Thank you. Lonnie?
Hey, good morning, council members. Lonnie Grenier on behalf of Odyssey House, Louisiana. We're the operators of the Low Barrier Shelter and Engagement Center. I'm here with my colleagues. First, I want to acknowledge the serious budget challenges our city faces. We understand the difficult decisions before you as you work to balance all the critical needs. I'm here today to ask that you prioritize funding for OHSS and for the Low Barrier Shelters to support continued operation at the current level. OHSS and the shelter are cornerstones of New Orleans' response to homelessness, helping people to transition off the streets and into stability. A recent economic impact study estimates that the Low Barrier Shelter, with its unique interconnectivity to Odyssey House's continuum of services, provides $39.8 million in cost savings associated with chronic homelessness to both the city and state. Cutting this funding now would mean turning people back to the streets. Maintaining this investment affirms that New Orleans.
Thank you. Joe, come on down.
Thank you, Nick.
Good morning, Council. Thank you. Joe Herron-Mueller, Unity of Greater New Orleans. We're the continuum of care for Orleans and Jefferson Parish, and we include 50 member agencies providing services across this area. I want to thank the Council and applaud all of you for your support of evidence-based, client-centered approaches to addressing homelessness in our community through the Office of Homeless Services and Strategy. We know that efforts to improve throughput at the homeless shelters is vital to addressing inflow of newly unhoused folks in our community who come to the streets and shelters. I have 3 points that I really want to make. One is that we are extremely proud of the success that our members have had in working toward the goal of housing 1,500 individuals. That goal is not inclusive of families, youth, veterans, and people fleeing domestic violence. When all those folks are taken into account, our collaborative has housed 2,679 people in 25 months. That's over 100 people every month. Homelessness is a persistent problem in New Orleans because we have the widest wealth gap of any city in the country, where 23% of our population lives below the poverty line. And that is what drives
Homelessness. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for your work. Anthony Ross.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning and blessings to everybody here. I was examining the slides, and as I was examining the slides, I was trying to determine how could the problem be fixed. The shelter has been a great blessing to me as far as the overall giving me shelter, but most of the time when services are rendered, it's mainly just kind of like a phone book. You walk up, they say, okay, you can get this service here, and then you have to leave out and physically do it yourself. I feel like a lot of the money is being put in the wrong places, even though there's good expectations, or you guys have a good, my shelter has a good reasoning. What am I trying to say? They have a good heart and mind with giving us housing, but I feel like passive income should be established to be able to trickle down to continue to keep giving the housing out, such as businesses provided through the shelter itself, so therefore the money could keep building versus going down itself. Do something with the money.
Thank you, and thank you for coming here today. Renee Blandu? Renee? Oh gosh, Blanche.
Slaughtered all the time.
Oh, Renee, hey.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Renee Blanche from Ozanamin. I just want to offer my support for OHSS. They've been instrumental in bringing many providers together from a variety of arenas, healthcare, housing programs, outreach, to help all of us try to work to create better paths to housing and supportive services for the unhoused in our city. They have been instrumental in helping us house 41 individuals on top of our Unity grants just in a 5-month period through the Rapid Rehousing Program, which was amazing, and we're super grateful for that. They realize our importance and partnership with the city and have been super supportive of all of our services that we offer at Ozanamin, which is more than just shelter and meals. It's a whole lot of a variety of things. And just with regard to the parish and hospital drops, as Nate mentioned, we've had 127 just in an 8-month period, and most of those people don't even know they're being brought to a homeless shelter.
Thank you, Renee. Charles Higgins, followed by Betty Daisy. Charles, you here? All right, we'll move on to Betty. Betty Daisy. All right, Jamel Wilson.
How you doing? Good morning. I'm a representative and client for Odyssey House. I'm just going to shed light on the positive area. I have a job because of Odyssey House. I'm blessed because of Odyssey House. I've been baptized because of Odyssey House. And I'm asking y'all keep the funds rolling because I require ID and everything in between them times to maintain a healthy living when I'm on the outside. So I ask you to keep them funds rolling because there's a set story in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamel. Thank you for being here today. Deanna Lind. And then following that is Dee Darnica.
Hello, Council. My name is Deanna Lind. About 6 months ago, I became homeless for the first time in my 50 years, and I'm at the Low Barrier Shelter, and I'd like to say that the staff there is doing a phenomenal job. I would love to see them continue to get the funding they need to allocate it as necessary. We're in some dark times, I think, in our government issues, and I would hate to see homelessness here in our great city become criminalized because it will cost so much more money for that than to allocate funds where is necessary. And we have a great team here, Mr. Nate. He knows how these funds need to be allocated. Our staff does a great job with helping us with our needs. They do, I mean, every one of them is such a great person and does such a great job. And I would like to see funding continue to flow in so that it can
Thank you, and thank you for being here today. The last card I have is from Dee Darnica.
Hi, good evening,
Good
y'all.
evening.
Good morning. I'm a resident at the Low Barrier Shelter. I've been there for like about 26 days. All right, I'm a 40-year-old woman, live a regular life, just had a grief is my issue. Okay, ever since I've been there, I've been not only getting my needs met, but even my wants. And they're going to the end of the road to get whatever you need. If you're willing and you want, they're there to help you, and they're assisting us beyond their office means. They'll even go to their homes and bring things for you. Depends, but they are there to help. And I need. It's not even a want, because I'm sure another mother may need as well. But I need this shelter to be funded so we all can thrive and grow.
Thank you so much for speaking, and thank you for being here today. Nate, do you have any closing words? Nate, any closing words?
I mean, it's hard to follow up with all of those things. I thank the city council for everything they have done, been able to stretch and be able to help all these individuals into a process. All of them are vital to the work that we do, and we thank all of our partners for working with us for Home for Good. And also, I just want to give a special shout out to my team. Thank them for the late days, the early mornings, the late hours, the sleet and rain, and killing themselves day in and day out. One of my things that I always tell people is that I hire for good, and I've hired some of the greatest people that I have ever met. My deputy director, who is on paternal leave, Taylor Dials, who has been just awesome since the day he hit the ground. He's been nonstop, and he's finally getting rest with his new baby. And we just want to say thank you for all of the team for everything they do.
Thank you, Nate, for everything that you do. All right, next up is OCD, Office of Community Development. Try to follow that, y'all.
Ready? Whenever you're ready.
So good morning. Thank you all. I'm Tyra Johnson Brown, Director for Office of Housing Policy and Community Development. Okay, next to me I have Ziva Bowman.
Excuse me, everyone. We have a presentation going on. Keep your noise to a minimum. Thank you.
Okay. I have Ziva Bowman with me. She is the Deputy Director of Transactions. I have Koshari Allen, who is the Director of Administrative Support, and Richard Bozeman, who is the Director of Asset Management. Before we get started and go into our 2026 goals, I first would like to thank the council for this opportunity, but also the staff of Office of Community Development. They are here in support, but to thank them for the hard work that they do, because the Office of Community Development is 100% grant funded. So we're not allowed to have wiggle room when it comes to promotions and all. If the money is not there, then that is not an opportunity that can happen. So I really want to express my gratitude to them for their hard work. So the 2026 department goals is to ensure access for all and increasing the production of affordable housing, to strengthen our partnerships with current housing partners, to increase the development of large-scale affordable housing units, to continue to provide funding assistance to our youth and elderly residents through our public service grant, to monitor the newly launched rental rehab program to increase partnership with landlords of small rental properties to provide affordable units. The Office of Community Development did release a NOFA, a Notice of Funding Availability, to seek a partner to actually do small rental landlord rehab. And that's something we have not done on this magnitude. We do have our owner-occupied rehab program, but this would allow for citizens to apply for funding up to $50,000 to do repairs to their unit in exchange for a period of affordability. To administer the Resilient Communities and Hometown Revitalization Program, and to continue to promote home ownership. Currently, Louisiana ranks number 4 in the nation of the highest Black home ownership. And to date, OCD has assisted 68 families to become first-time home owners. At this time, Coach Cherie will go over our budget.
I don't want to interrupt, but that's an important point to clap on. But statistically, per capita, African Americans have lost their standing in terms of the leading immigrant group nationwide. Hispanics have surpassed us by 10% in home ownership, and other groups are on par with whites now. So though New Orleans has maintained its standing fourth, New Orleans used to be one of the highest per capita home ownership communities for African Americans of any place in the country. So though we can celebrate holding on to a fourth place standing, we're actually losing ground in terms of ownership for land and access to generational wealth or generational property. So sometimes you got to be careful with your celebrate that we not last. But what we need to do is take these numbers and the work that Ms. Robinson has done to at least keep us in a decent or respectful national standing. But we've lost ground economically, and we've lost ground in terms of what we own here in New Orleans, and that's not good enough.
Thank you for that.
As Tyra stated, we are 100% grant funded. Most of our funding comes from HUD by way of direct grantee from HUD, and some by pass through the State Office of Community Development. For personnel services for 2025, we had $8 million. In other operating, we had $139 million for a total of $147 million. For 2026, we are decreasing down to $5 million in personnel services, $112 million in other operating, and $118 million. As you can see, we did have a big variance. The reason for that is for personnel services, we did have a reduction in our ERA2. That grant expired, and that grant allowed for us to provide our staff with temporary pay during the time that we were operating that grant. We are reducing to budgeting for actuals and not trying to overspend. And we did have staff resign and or retire, and we do not plan to fill those positions. For other operating, as I stated, we had a grant that expired, which was our ERA2, where we spent roughly $56 million. However, we did have an influx in disaster grant funding from the state of Louisiana for RCIP, and that did cover us for another $33 million, which does help us to sustain our office. Okay, again, we are not general funded. The only funding that we receive is passed through from the general fund, and that money goes directly to Southeast Louisiana Legal Services for rights to counsel. There is a reduction that we're seeing. In 2025, we spent $2.3 million in general fund. In 2026, we had the opportunity to utilize some of our ERA2 funding that was expiring to free up some of the general fund money. So that's why you see roughly $1 million in variance, and that money was permanently reduced for the 2026 year.
So now we'll talk about budget impacts and recommendations. As we continue to sing the song that we are 100% federally funded. The impact, the City 2026 allocation from HUD has not been received yet. We're always a year behind because we're on a calendar year where HUD is on a fiscal year of October 1. So if we do not get a 2026 allocation, that would impact the entire operations of OCD. Also mentioned about the Southeast Louisiana Legal Services. That reduction is only going to directly impact residents who have relied on this assistance to prevent evictions, and also with the rights of counsel of them having representatives to be able to assist them to prevent evictions. Some of the services such as emergency rental and utilities assistance will be eliminated as the Treasury grant, as Koshri has said, has expired. And this will increase and has increased evictions and utilities cut off. So as we move into to talk about our 2025 contracts, all of our funding is HUD funding, but it's broken down by entitlement grants. The first one that I'm going to discuss is the HOPL, which is the Housing Opportunity for Persons with HIV/AIDS. We had a $4.1 million allocation. Currently, we have an outstanding balance of 1.7. That's for 5 agencies that we fund. If you look on at the next slide, those services are very restricted. And this is from the contract of January 25 to December. Those services consist of tenant-based rental assistance, which is TBRA, facility-based housing subsidy assistance, housing information services, permanent housing placement, short-term rental mortgage and utilities assistance, supportive services, and the project sponsor admin cost, which is capped at 3%. So that's the entire allocation of the $4.1 million. For the Emergency Solutions Grant, which is our ESG, that is our homeless service grant, we received allocation of $1.1 million. Currently, there is a balance of $430,000. The shelters are listed. As you can see, majority of them, I will tell you, have their billing is up to either August or September. But one thing that I need you all to understand when it comes to the ESG funding is just a small pot, but we try to make sure that we cover all different populations of the shelter, because the Unity Continuum of Care funding cannot support operations of shelters at all. The max amount that we are allowed to spend for operations is 60%. And so 60% of that allocation goes to those shelters. And as you can see, each one represents a different population. And then the remaining 40% of the allocation is homeless prevention and rapid rehousing. Our community development block grant, known as CDBG, which is public service, we have allocated $1.9 million towards public service. And what that consists of is our NORD program, as well as Workforce Job 1. For the Workforce Job 1, which was $100,000, that is now what is being used for the fall internship, where we started September the 22nd. It goes into November the 12th. We had allocated for 39 participants, but we only have 22. The rest of that funding, which is $680,000. I heard the presentation by Council on Aging. Just want you all to know that is our homeless services. We fund 8 senior centers, and from that, all 8 of them receive direct allocation. Prior to this year, the allocation was funneled through Council on Aging, and Council on Aging was the pass-through agencies to the centers. Now that funding goes directly to the center. And the last one for contracting is the affordable housing. Our affordable housing programs are funded through CDBG, Home, General Obligation Bonds, and Home ARC. As you can see, there are 6 projects that still have to go through, come to council for approval. Those projects, developers are working with the law department, and those all are scheduled to go to closing by the end of this year. The Tulane non-congregate shelter is home ARP dollars, which was $9.4 million, and NOFA is currently on the street for a developer for that project. And so also it says that attachment, we receive funding for disaster. We have our National Disaster Resilient Competition known as NDR. We receive $141 million. To date, we have expended $25 million. That grant supports 14 vendors and 1 vendor of NORA, which is program income that has generated from the NDR grant. The Hurricane Isaac grant was $15 million, and the funds dispersed is $14 million. So we had 2 vendors for the Hurricane Isaac. And the Resilient Community Infrastructure Program, that grant was $33 million. Currently, we have expended $141,000. But I need for you all to look at the date of those different grants, because those grants, like the NDR, started in 2017. However, it does not sunset until September 30 of 2029, as well as the Hurricane Isaac. And I'm not going to go through, but you all were also provided a listing of all of those vendors for those different grants. And so at this time, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you and your staff for the work that you guys do. Y'all have truly been a blessing, especially to the groups that need it. You mentioned the grants and the date of the grants. Is there a prohibition on spending the money before the end of the award period?
No, we must spend the money before it ends.
So the date that you have is that, and you have this much left, but by 2029, and for the RICP, by 2027, it has to be spent by then.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Our CIP is very, very new, and it's actually a lot of our projects. One of our larger ones is $11.3 million that's going out right now to actually design for West End drainage. So a lot of those projects are very, very new, but they're actually going out the door as we speak. Those projects are not in a holding position. Those projects will be spent, and that money will be done by 2027.
Okay, so for the NDR grant, the grant award is $141,260,569, but you've only expended about $25 million or so. Is there a reason why so little of that
Yes.
grant money has been spent?
There are several reasons. That was a disaster competition that the city of New Orleans went out for to receive that funding from HUD. It was the first time that we ever decided to develop a resilient neighborhood, which is the Gentilly neighborhood. And as you guys know, those projects are heavily tied to GIRR. We are like phase 2 in most of those projects. So when phase 1 is not done and they're not complete, we have to be in a holding position until our funding is ready, until our
So we
phase
got
is
more
ready.
money than we had the capacity to fulfill the grant award.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that there were a lot of barriers to fulfilling the grant award.
Okay, so. Okay.
Ms. Kinlaw, you're going to have a chance to speak, but go ahead. Let's continue your presentation.
So we're in jeopardy of losing whatever's left if those roadblocks are still in the way of us adequately spending that money before September 30th, 2029.
That is correct. If we do not spend the money by September 30th, 2029, we have to forfeit the funding, and we have to repay anything that we spend that we do not meet a national objective on.
So what are the prohibitions for expeditious spending, or what are we doing to make sure that they don't get our money back?
We work directly with Joe Threat. That we are the grant administrators. Joe Threat and his team are the project managers, and they're the ones who have to go out and actually move the dollars. We assist them in any way that we can, but it's under the Office of Resiliency, and we have to work directly with them to move those dollars. Trust me, we're on the calls. We've had task force meetings, and we're pressuring everybody at the table to move those dollars.
So you're the keepers of the money, but
Yes.
it's another department that's charged with
Absolutely.
expending the money.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a lot more I can say about that, but that
Yeah.
responsibility, I hope people are paying attention.
Yes.
Because you keeping the money is one thing, but programming and charging the money and spending the money and appropriating the money, that's a whole another thing. So that's a whole nother layer. So
Yes.
I'm sure folk are paying attention to that. After these awards, is there ability, I know this is federal funds, to apply for more of those, the future of those grants in jeopardy right now?
For NDR, I can tell you that HUD will never do a national competition again. This NDR grant has been problematic not only in New Orleans, but all over. All of the major cities have had trouble spending the money unless you did housing. If you did housing, your money went out the door. But if you try to do anything preventative and resilience-based, it was very hard to spend those dollars because you have to show how you're benefiting past the next storm and the next storm. And it's very hard to do that when.
Now, this award happened during the Landry administration, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, I know I facilitated the national discussion on resiliency officers at the convention center 2 years when this was started. So what's the major prohibition? Because there's still so much money left that could be a great use in our community. I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus, but you can throw them on top of it.
Getting everyone on board and realizing how severe it is and how we must move these dollars or we lose the dollars. And not only do we lose the dollars, we repay any dollar that we've spent that didn't go to meeting a national objective. If you do not complete the project, you repay HUD.
Well, the important discussion, important piece, especially when I saw the dates, the amounts that are left, and here we are in a community desperate for money and funds to be spent. And to have that money just sitting there says a lot about something. So hopefully we'll find out what that something is and be able to spend it in the community that needs it.
Also, we need to look at doing COVID. A lot of the projects that had went out for bid, when those, after COVID, those bids were no longer good. And a lot of the costs had increased for a lot of those projects.
But why that, with that said, that's no different than the Stafford Act, which you get a certain amount of money on a dollar and they forecast 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. But that shouldn't be a prohibition for program because you can only program what you have. Now, are you saying that the projects that were programmed were more money than allocated, but then that wouldn't seem right because we still have a lot of money left?
Right, but some of those projects, we had to, we changed projects. We had to change some projects because they were not going to move forward.
We have canceled some projects to benefit other projects, and we do have a groundbreaking for St. Bernard that we're really, really excited about because Willie Hall is finally getting rebuilt and Larry Barbino is getting his project done. So we do have some things that's moving, but some of our larger projects, yes, we absolutely need to move on.
Well, I'm sure the people who are going to be here are paying attention because this is an important discussion about process. And about the 29th will be here, 2029 will be here before you know it, and we can't afford to lose any funds, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember King.
Good morning. Is there a program, do you all connect contractors with those who need their homes repaired? You mentioned that's like $50,000 per home. Is there like a portal where they can find contractors?
So right now, there is 2 programs, and let's get it clear. So we have the owner-occupied rehab program, which is the program which is the health and safety program. Currently, right now, that is through Rebuilding Together New Orleans for that. That's who residents have to contact. because the OCD, as we don't administer the program ourselves.
Okay.
The program that I just mentioned, which is the rental rehab program for small landlords, that one we have not started yet. We are in the process of selecting a vendor to actually administer that program.
Okay.
But a landlord can qualify up to $50,000 for a unit, and it's a landlord who has 4 units or less.
All right, thank you.
Tyra, I do want to talk about the small land, the NOFA, the $5 million for rehab. My understanding is there's no administration dollars in that funding. Is that correct?
So that is correct. So the way, okay, CDBG, and of course Sheree might could explain it a little different. You have what's project delivery costs and administrative costs. If an agency is directly working with that program, and is directly connected to the services, that's where they are paid from. So you have to understand, it's not straight administrative, it's project delivery costs and activity costs.
Because these are CDBG dollars, we only receive a 20% allocation annually, and our staff is fully funded. We literally don't have enough money for all of our staff. So we have allowed for whoever is awarded to bill us directly as activity delivery. This is the only activity that they're doing, and we will work with them to show them, and I said that on our meeting, we will work with them to show them how to bill activity delivery, even if it's accounting, even if it's typically an administrative cost. We're gonna work with them to show them how to bill directly to the program.
Thank you. I do want to turn to slide 14 to talk about the projects that are in process. I know that some of those are funded by bond funding. Can we talk about how bond funding helps with affordable housing?
Yes. Because we're limited on the dollars that we receive and they are restricted, the bond funding allows us to have additional dollars to allocate for like the multifamily development. Right now, moving into 2026, because of the uncertainty of funding, we will not be able to fund a multi-development project. So that's why we are doing the rental rehab program. It's a quicker turnaround, whereas multi-development can take 2 years just getting the financing in place. It's not something that happens overnight. And so, as you will see, some of these projects can go back to 2019, and now they're going to closing.
Because of bond funding?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
The bond funding assists these projects to move forward.
So there's approximately 500 units at least
Yes.
that will move forward because of a combination of bond funding, CDBG, et cetera.
Exactly.
And if we don't pass the bonds going forward, then we won't have money to do this in the future.
Will not have money.
I just want to make that clear. All right, on to public comment, Sarah. And I'm going to butcher your name as I always do.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Green is at a funeral today, guys. So for folk who have noticed that his absence, it's only because he's at a funeral service today for someone that was close to him.
It's Sarah Mojola.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm so sorry. And look, y'all, I got another giant stack to keep this moving forward. Everybody gets a minute.
Go as fast as possible.
Thank you, my friend.
Good morning, Sarah Mojola, Director of Vera Institute of Justice, proud member of the Big Easy Budget Coalition. And so this comment is for OCD, yes, this presentation, but also all of the departments that are essential to community safety, housing, affordability, youth support, and basic needs of New Orleans residents. I'm really aware of the budget constraints that the city is facing, and I do still urge you to fully fund these departments like OCD that are very, very important. As Ms. Johnson-Brown laid out in her presentation, and if you look on pages 7 and 9, the consequences of not funding OCD's programs are dangerous. So increased rates of system-involved youth, higher rates of disengagement from school or future employment pathways. You can see that on those pages, but and read them fully. But that's what we risk when we are not funding those programs. And then finally, I know that these aren't voting matters, but it is sort of the only time that we get to, the general public gets to engage with this budget.
Sarah, thank you. Thelma French, followed by Angela Kinlaw.
Thelma French, Total Community Action. I'm actually here to speak in favor of the Office of Workforce Development component of the CDBG budget. But having spent many years working with Community Development Block Grant, I know they're all going to laugh, I want to say how important this federal funding has been to the rebuild and the sustainability of New Orleans' infrastructure. I want to speak to the Summer Youth Employment Program, though. Probably started that program, and I don't want to tell my age, but as we look at root causes of poverty, crime, and juvenile, employment opportunities and youth development are core to us stemming this tide. So I know that the Summer Youth Program often takes a city council allocation as well as federal funds. And when you have to make those hard decisions, please consider the need for opportunities for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. French. Ms. Kinlaw, followed by Angela. Look, Sarah, you're not the only one. Ozarek.
So I know this won't be enough time, but I do want to say to your office, Ms. Johnson, thank you for the times where you all have had to step in the gap. And I appreciate the folks who work in your offices, particularly in the need to serve people without criminalizing them. And so I want to say today that the reason we continue to come back to these budget hearings is because we're putting emphasis on the needs of residents and prioritization. And I know that there's been so much talk about lack of funding, but this is the critical time right now that we're asking you to seize this moment and comb the public coffers. We are very confident that the City of New Orleans has money right now in all kinds of nooks and crannies, and it is not being distributed and or planned appropriately for the usage. We continue to talk about that $141 million resilient grant because we're from 2017 until now. That's just one example. And you guys talk.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We hear you. Thank you. You're holding up other people, Angela. You're holding up other comments. We hear you loud and clear. I'm happy to meet with you. Angela, if you can come on up. Other Angela, followed by Ryan Bates and Paul Irons.
You said it quite well, so don't be stressed. Here from Jane Place Neighborhood Sustainability Initiative. Just want to speak briefly. I support OCD getting all the funding that it needs, but I want to highlight particularly the deficit plan for Right to Counsel. I know we were here, not everyone was able to be present maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, back when I was still on crutches. I'm making progress, talking about how this program has rendered about a 2/3 reduction in eviction rates in New Orleans. And I know people said, oh, that's going to be hard to follow Nate's team's presentation. This is the work that prevents Nate's team from being overwhelmed, is when we keep preventing evictions, when we connect people with the due process that they're owed. There are also many people on vouchers in Section 8 in permanent supportive housing who end up in eviction court, and the way that we prevent them from re-entering the homeless services system is ensuring the full funding of Right to Counsel and other programs that are preventative. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Bates, followed by Paul Irons.
Good morning, Council. My name is Ryan Bates, owner of Bates Development, minority-owned real estate development firm. I will say I'm a byproduct of the Office of Community Development and the work that they have done. We've created affordable housing in Gentilly on buildings that have been vacant since Hurricane Katrina. 42 families now have a house to live thanks to the funding and partnership of this team and what they do, as well as a deal that is under construction right now on Canal Street for 49 apartments in your district, as you know, for elderly, with community garden, with the computer center, with the gym. And so that would not be possible without the work that the Office of Community Development does, Ms. Kosheri, Ms. Tyra Johnson-Brown, Mr. Bozeman. And so I just want to say I fully support their initiatives. And also, this is a two-sided coin. We talked about the homelessness and the trickle-down effect that happens if affordable housing isn't met. And then the other side is these are federal dollars that this office has to go and secure while being short-staffed. Then they have to administer those dollars. And I can tell you, being on the other side of the coin, they do push the gas on making sure the private side gets the money out of the door. So thank you.
Thank you. Paul Irons, followed by Lonnie Granier.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, Mayor-elect. Thank you all for having me today. My name is Paul Irons. I'm one of the founders of New Orleans Restoration Properties, also a minority real estate development firm here in New Orleans, fourth generation. I'm here to speak on behalf and support for the Office of Community Development, Tyra Johnson-Brown's office, Mr. Bozeman. They've been great partners since 2022. Through partnership with this office, we've been able to house 68 families. Well, actually 68 plus 50 with another partner and another 50 units in the pipeline. And I can tell you just in the affordable housing industry right now, it's impossible to get projects done without public-private partnership. Not only just the funding, but with partners who understand the process and that it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take time. And they're going to push on their side to eliminate the red tape that it gets to get to the street. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lonnie, are you still here? He stepped out. Laura Tuggle, followed by Will Stout.
Good morning. I'm Laura Tuggle with Southeast Louisiana Legal Services. I was here about 6 weeks ago, giving an update on Right to Counsel, and I realize we're in a very different moment now. I just want to mention, following up on what Angela shared from Jane Place, who's one of our partners, that we have about a 97% favorable outcome rate for our eviction cases, either dismissal, working something out with a landlord, working out some other solution where folks can stay housed. Keeping people housed helps improve their own economic stability, educational outcomes, and helps save the city money. I want to mention just one other thing. I think I have time to get this in. The Louisiana Bar Foundation, which also funds some of our work, does an economic impact study on the value of civil legal services. And they released that earlier this year and found that for every dollar invested in civil legal aid, there's $13.28 of social return on investment. Be glad to share that study.
Thank you, Ms. Tuggle. Will Stout, followed by Roz Pesha.
Good morning, Council. My name is William Stott. I'm with Rebuilding Together New Orleans. We work in partnership with the Office of Community Development to operate the owner-occupied rehab program. Tyra and her team were the first to stand up a fortified roof program in the city before the state did. And so we know that there is a tremendous amount of need. We get about 800 new applications a year. We've served 176 households so far. This is a record year for us, but we continue to fall further and further behind. OCD is doing critical work in expanding their programs, but it will take a tremendous amount of effort. The Housing Trust Fund is just another thing that we can do to prevent homelessness, to make our community stronger. And so we want to just echo and support the work that they are doing and continue to advocate for investing in homeowners, investing in renters, and investing in making our community a safer and a more affordable place.
Thanks, Will. Roz?
Good morning or afternoon. I don't know what it is right now. But I'm Rosalind Pacho, and I just wanted to be able to talk a little bit or get a clarity on the Housing Trust Fund, that the funds that were voted on, oh, I have a minute, right? The funds that were voted on agreed to 2% of the money will go to the Housing Trust Fund. And are you talking about doing a bonding? Are you trading it out with the Housing Trust Fund that the people voted on? That money will be in place?
Are you asking a question, Roz? I'm happy to talk offline and give you the information about the bond sale. Right now, we're not in that, so.
Yeah, that's why I
we'll-
was walking out, because I saw
Yeah,
it was,
I'll talk with you offline.
Okay, because we just want to make sure that the money that was voted on by the allocation is going to be available to the,
It is,
It's
and
available.
bond funding will help supplement that.
Thank you very much.
Not substitute, supplement. Thank you. Joe Heron Miller, followed by Monique Blossom.
Good morning again, Council. I want to continue on the comments that I had before, applauding the partners that we have at the city, in particular here, OCD, and the work that they do to address the need for deeply affordable housing. It is the opportunities for deeply affordable housing in our community that undergird the safety and success of our community's residents, especially the 23% who live below the poverty line. And the work to prevent people from falling into homelessness through eviction prevention and problem-solving efforts. That is very vital, and we want to applaud the council for supporting that and that they continue. I would also like to raise the alarm that the threats to affordable housing in our community are very great, with proposed federal cuts to housing choice vouchers and PSH in our communities. This council and the entire community should be contacting our federal congressional senators, representatives at this time.
Thank you, Joe. Monique Blossom, followed by Renee Blanche.
Monique Blossom, Louisiana Fair Housing Action Center. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Brown and her entire staff for all their dedicated hard work. I'm here to also support fully funding the Right to Counsel program, and I think this should be fully funded because it's one of the best returns on investment that the city makes. When we guarantee representation in eviction court, where the power dynamic is so heavily stacked in the favor of landlords and where tenants do have an advocate, we're reducing evictions and, has already been said, preventing homelessness. Because once someone loses their housing, they're going to suffer poorer health outcomes, education, economic outcomes, and then the cost of the city interventions rise from there. At LAFAC, we're very proud to have 2 eviction defense attorneys, and they report that they're primarily serving single parents or single income caregivers. They've also seen an unsettling trend with pregnancy and childbirth leading to eviction. Thank you.
Thank you. Renee, followed by Nicole Barnes.
Good morning again. Renee Blanche from Ozanamin. As demonstrated, OCD supports many organizations that provide vital services to the citizens of New Orleans. At Ozanamin, we rely on the funds received through OCD to help us provide a multitude of services to thousands of people in our community. As a private nonprofit, we have to fundraise for every dollar that we need to run our 156-bed facility, which obviously offers more than just shelter, and that's no easy task. Without the support of OCD, we would potentially have to trim back some of our services, or even worse. We partner with the city and many other organizations to provide services to the most vulnerable in our city, and without organizations like Ozanamin and the support of OCD, the city's homelessness issues would be vastly worse, and many vulnerable people would be suffering. So thank you, Tyra, and your team.
Thank you, Renee. Nicole, followed by Nicole Weber, and then Maxwell Chiardulo.
Good morning. Thank you, Council, for having us here to talk about this today. I want to thank OCD for all the work that they do around affordable housing. Just want to remind everyone that as we're going through this very difficult financial time, that housing is indeed one of the top priorities for our city. It is the reason why our citizens voted overwhelmingly to pass the Housing Trust Fund, because it is the very, very issue that they deal with on a day in and day out basis. We need all of the tools in the toolkit to be able to make this work. As Tyra alluded to, most of the funding that we push out to our programs in the city for housing are federally funded. If we do not get that funding, we need to have other funds. That is why the Housing Trust Fund is necessary. That's why funding from the general fund is necessary for that. And additionally, other tools, everything at our disposal, any federal funds, any state funds, and bond funding. It cannot be.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole Weber, followed by Maxwell, and the last person will be Blake Stanfill.
Nicole Weber. I'm here on behalf of Maisant Royal, 4100 Royal. That's a affordable housing development in Bywater that I've been working on since day one. We've gone through everything, and I've come before this body many a times on behalf of the project. I just wanted to say that we don't just need, and to Nicole Barnes' point, we don't just need a tool belt or a tool kit. We need a tool shed. We need a tool garage to make affordable happen. And the way to do that is obviously supporting OCD. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Maxwell, and then Blake.
Hi, council members. Maxwell Chardulo. I'm the co-chair of the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee. I understand the budget crisis as much as anyone can, given what we know. So I'm only coming to you today with efficiency and cost-saving solutions. The first is right to counsel. Folks have already said it. It's been studied in every city that it's been implemented in every city it's been implemented in, it saves money. It saves money, and it disproportionately serves rent-burdened Black women, and that's just not who we should be. That's not who we should be balancing our budget on the backs of. And then secondly is small multifamily affordable developments. This is something that you put a lot of work into on the zoning code, and it's actually working. Local developers are creating units without subsidy, and it is unfortunately slow because there's only one person in safety and permits to help them navigate what is often a black hole. That's Kelly Butler. She's a saint. She does the work of like 3 or 4 people, but those units cost $125,000 each to build. You could get many more for the cost of one staff person. Thank you.
Thank you, I agree. Blake?
Good morning. My name is Blake Stanfill. I'm the Executive Vice President and COO of Finance New Orleans. Finance New Orleans was approved to administer the Housing Trust Fund very recently, and we're working with OCD on finalizing our CEA. We certainly understand the budget realities that the city faces, and this requires sobering efforts to address. That said, this is not the time to abandon our housing work. We want to make sure that the Housing Trust Fund is funded in a recurring, reliable manner, and it's not done in a one-time cash infusion with bonds, but will be much more debt-ridden. So we just urge the council to maintain the Housing Trust Fund appropriation and use the bonds to complement and support affordable housing development as opposed to replacing. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. All right, y'all, that's it for that item. Now on to workforce development.
Whenever you're ready. Whenever y'all ready. Ask everyone keep the noise down, please.
Okay, as we move into workforce development, I have Sabrina Johnson, who is the fiscal manager, with me, as well as Tammy Washington, who is the deputy director. Also in the audience, we do have Carmen McKinley, who is the director of the Summer Youth Program, as well as Tori Jakes, who is our senior compliance officer. As we talk about the 2026 goals, the goals are to expand partnership with the New Orleans Public Library as a hub to bring workforce development, employment, and training services to additional libraries and local communities. To host a minimum of 50 hiring events to connect with employers in high-growth, high-demand industries. To achieve or exceed negotiated performance goals for the Job One Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, employment and training programs. And just to say that we did exceed our goals for last year. To expand the strength and partnership in industry leaders and community stakeholders across all workforce development programs. To enhance visibility and impact of the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program through target engagement and outreach, and diversify the internship placement to align with future workforce needs. So Sabrina will go over the budget.
Good morning, Council. For personnel, we actually have for year 2025, we had actual staff employment of 9, and for 2026, we're reducing that to 6 full-time employees. On the budget side, for the adopted budget for 2025, we had a total of $25 million, and this is all grant funded. And for the proposed budget for 2026, we're proposing $24 million with a variance of $1.4 million. And this is actually based on budgets to actual, as well as a reduction in the grant funding due to the grant actually ending this year.
So budget impacts and recommendations. This budget will impact to reduce training and upskilling opportunity. Less funding available for training, certification, and continuing education for unemployed and underemployed job seekers. Reduced funding for reskilling programs for dislocated workers or transitioning workers. Budget constraints due to the hiring freeze or layoff of workforce development and the Job One American Job Center. Would increase workloads for remaining staff, leading to burnout and reduced program effectiveness, as well as providing limited supportive services. Cuts to wraparound supportive services such as child care, transportation, and career counseling that assist clients with completing training and retaining employment. Technology and infrastructure gaps will happen. There will be delays in replacing and upgrading much-needed technology equipment and software for Job One. Will reduce access to tools needed for remote training delivery. Will decrease employer engagement, which means less funding for employer engagement and hiring events. Equity gaps widening. Underserved communities will be affected, especially those relying on subsidized training or job placement services.
Challenges for the summer program with budget reductions. The reduced in the number of slots available to youth. We have a decreased number of paid internships and summer jobs we have available to youth who are in need of those services. Shorten the program duration. Currently, the program is 6 to 8 weeks, so we're looking at doing 4 weeks or less to still provide some services, and that's less time with skill building, mentorship, and meaningful work experience for youth. Potential consequences include increased idle time for youth during the summer months, which increase rates of system-involved youth, missed opportunities for early career exposure and income, and higher risk of disengagement from schools of future employment pathways. Strategies that we've looked at for processes that will not have additional costs, streamlining communications to enhance communication practice tools between our workforce partners so we can better leverage resources, and also doing standardized forms and online application for the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program to increase youth access to that particular program and to decrease what the staff needed to provide those services. And also to leverage existing community spaces such as libraries, rec centers, and schools as pop-up workforce information and service delivery hubs. This would increase the visibility and access to those in underserved areas.
So currently, the contracts that is with Workforce Development is the operator's contract for Job One, American Job Center, which is a total contract award this year of $3.9 million. That amount is due for contracting by December 2025 will be $1.7 million. We have a contract with Dries YMCA that is for the location, that is for the rent, for the facility, for administrative personnel, as well as for the Job One Center. Also, we have utility costs that's included in that lease. We also have the security with Pinnacle for Job One, where we are able to have security at all times throughout the day while operations is going on. The other ones are administrative, which is like the copier, Iron Mountain for storage, cell phone, and something new that is not being included in the lease this year is the janitorial services. Dries have taken that out, which is now going to cost Workforce Development $69,000. So that is something that comes from general fund, and those are the costs that we really need to look at. We're going to need those additional costs.
Councilmember Thomas?
Once again, first of all, thank you guys. Every time I've been there, either to talk to the participants, staff, or whenever there was an event there, it's always been standing room only. So this is one of those programs that really you can kind of quantify its impact. You know, we talk about money and investments in business, you want a certain return. If it's entertainment and sports, it's a certain return. If you invest in children, you look for a certain return. But this, I think, the social return, and I'm hoping you guys can put that together, because as we celebrate some of the gains we've made with crime, especially with young folk between ages 24 and 16, you will definitely have a ripple effect if you don't have programs like this. So I'm hoping at some point, I won't be here, but you guys can actually put something together to show that it's not just about the money. Because what Thelma didn't say, when Thelma was doing grants in CBD, she talked about youth. That area represented the greatest reduction in violent crime of any city in America at that time. New Orleans doubled the national average. I think sometimes we forget we've been there, done that. And that summer program that Thelma worked with the then mayor, was the first time you had maybe 1,900, almost 2,000 kids involved in summer program with apprenticeships and internships. So I've always thought it was good to remember where you was so you can know where you're going. But everybody doesn't feel like that now, I guess. But I would hope that at some point y'all will put something together to show the ripple effect, especially with a lot of the programs that came today, it's not just about your budget. It's not just about the jobs. It's really about all the other social impact areas that organizations that were here today affect when you don't have funding, when you don't have a program that operates. And given this environment, I just hope that you guys can stress to the powers that be. I don't know if they're ready for that. Because those of us who were here at Thelma during those 17 years, 300 and 400 murders, in years when 2,500 or 3,000 people got shot or stabbed that didn't die, I don't know that y'all ready for that. But what I do know is that y'all ain't ready to create an environment where the ingredients in New Orleans still exist so you can have that. So please, as you guys impress upon the powers that be and the ones who are here, remind them of what was when you didn't have this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you for that. We did provide you all information as to how successful the program was for the year. But I will look at that going back, because I remember those days, and seeing how it has changed over the years.
Get it to me before January 9th.
Okay.
All right, with that, we have public comment. Again, 1 minute, because we have a lot of cards. Claire Jecklin, followed by Dr. Elliott Beaton.
Good morning, council members, Madam Mayor-elect. I just want to speak and emphasize the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program and the impact it's had. As youth chair of the Workforce Board, we've seen this program grow. There were 25 new employers who stepped forward in this last summer, as well as a record number of young people. I mean, there were more young people than spots available, but employers are stepping up. I think what's really important here on the investment, to your point, Councilmember Thomas, is that the exponential early investment and exposure to industry allows industry then to have confidence in young people, for young people to know the businesses and the trainings that are available to them. The young people from the New Orleans Career Center who were in the skilled nursing employment pipeline also then were in training at the Career Center and then could build off of that experience into employment with partners like Ochsner Health and others. This is an essential part of our work.
Thank you. Dr. Elliott Beaton, followed by Oscar Brown.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Dr. Elliott Beaton. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of New Orleans, and I run the Stress, Cognition, and Affective Neuroscience Laboratory. We study how stress shapes brain and behavioral development in vulnerable children here in the greater New Orleans area and across the United States. And I'm here to speak in a very enthusiastic support of the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program. This program has been a godsend to help keep our work going. The smart, hardworking individuals have been able to hire through this program have allowed us to continue this work, especially during the summer. You know how funding at all levels in research and higher ed has been strained. Moreover, the experiences they gain through that work is helping build their careers in science. These are practical in-demand research skills in immunology, physiology, and brain imaging, coding, technical writing, and publishing. One high school student that was in this program is now doing his bachelor's in science at Tulane. Please continue this important program. Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar Brown, followed by Aiden Blaine Evans. Oscar? Aiden Blaine Evans?
Good morning. I'm a student and researcher at a neuroscience lab at UNO. I'm here today to humbly yet assertively speak in support of the Mayor's Youth Employment Program. Through it, I've gained invaluable experiences I would not have been able to achieve without it. I'm going to be published as second author on a neuroscience paper with other papers on the way that this program has allowed me to work on. This program represents and nurtures the city's youth, who are its present and its future. This city and its youth must reconnect. We must invest in their futures. We must build bridges, lest we get caught in the water alone. I do not qualify for the program for the next cycle, so I'm not here for personal gain. I'm here to keep lit the torch for those who come after me. I believe in them and I am rooting for them. This city has placed its trust in you who are before me, to listen to them, to lead them, and to care for them. I choose to place my trust in you too, that you believe in this city's youth and will build bridges.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rhonda Ford, followed by Perry Scholes.
Good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Ford. I'm here representing my daughter, Samanda Ford, who's the owner of Ugly Betty Boy Crush that bracelets. The students, through the Youth Initiative Program, participated in the Job One program to help her business out, especially that particular year she was doing Essence. I'm supporting the Job One program in that I am a recipient of, well, then was the NORD Recreation Program under Morris Jeff and Miss Lancaster when NORD was housed at Gallia Hall. I was 14. I got the job because of my penmanship. I actually started the first day I worked. And the importance of that program allowed me then, when I was 14, to pay the rent at my house. You know, so we don't know why students.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Perry Scholes, followed by Missy Hepson.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Perry Scholes. I'm founder and CEO of Career Immersion Leadership Institute. So first I want to thank the staff for the program, Summer Youth Program. Our nonprofit works with college students, helping them get experience before they graduate from college to help them successfully land in jobs. And so I want to just say, one, in the 5 years that our programs existed, just through the City Youth, our students have earned over $210,000 to help them with all of their expenses and everything else that they go with. Kari Blanks, student from UNO, engineering major water, is working for the Water Collaborative. He's now a manager and has been promoted. Karan Johnson is a student from Southern University. He's in the band, and he was an intern at Ellis Marcellus Center this summer. So there is an impact, and we really need this program.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. I am Missy Hobson. I'm the Chief Learning and Workforce Development Officer for Ochsner Health. I'm also Vice Chair of the Office of Workforce Development for the City of New Orleans, and I'm here to speak in support of both the Mayor Youth and Summer Employment Program and Job One, and hope that you will continue funding in fiscal year 2026. We need these programs as an employer. We need it. We need to connect our talent to career-connected learning. We actively participate in the career fairs, we bring interns in, and they experience firsthand what it is like to work in a healthcare setting. We are the largest growing area in the state. Healthcare needs quality workers. This program is allowing us to tap early talent, get them in on those pathways, and move them forward. We hired some of our college students directly at the end of the program, so it translates into real jobs at the end of it. We need more of this.
Thank you. Kim Toubre, followed by Millette W. Lynn. Kim? Millette?
Hi, I'm the Education Manager with the New Orleans Ballet Association, NOBA. We've been a worksite partner with the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program for many years. I thought it was very fortuitous that we're speaking to housing earlier today. Wanted to share a story of one of our students who started with that summer program when she was 16. The 2 years following that, she and her mother overcame homelessness. She started in our program at the Wilson Charter School, the Broadmoor Improvement Association, back in, I think, 2012. Her family has struggled for years, but during that time, that employment through the summer program provided her with that income to be able to continue studying her passion. She earned a Questbridge scholarship at Grinnell, so she's now been able to, with those opportunities, I think that's just a really great tie-in, and we are in full support of fully funding the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Erica Vincent, followed by Erica Zucker.
Good morning. My name is Erica Vincent. I'm with Purple Dynasty Foundation and Possible, another partner, Boys Town, Louisiana, and My Community Cares, which are in full support of this program. I'd like the council to think about 3 words: education, community, and crime. With partners supporting education during this summer program, it gives the brilliant minds a chance to soar without the fear of failing. Having a community behind them supports the kids all summer long, reinforcing good behaviors, self-esteem, and it is paramount because, we need them to be more productive citizens. And crime has become negative in our history, especially with youth. All the participants of this program come from different backgrounds, the 4.0 student and the 1.0 student alike. If we don't show these kids that they matter, we will be unleashing a plague of negative, useless crime of what could be necessity for some youth. The social impact of the decrease of eliminating this program will destroy New Orleans. A person in a difficult situation will create a clever solution.
Thank you, Erica. Erica Zucker, followed by Angela Kinlaw, and closing us out is Floyd Sims.
Justice Project. I'd like to offer, I support full funding of workforce development. I hate to see any kind of budget cuts in this area. I would like to offer a non-budget item, but one that is very important, which is to ensure that any participants in any of these workforce development programs comply with the standards set out in the Workers' Bill of Rights, which was passed by the populace of the city as a charter amendment and by the council as an implementation ordinance. I'd also like us to look at workforce development expansively. We talk a lot about bringing jobs back into the city, particularly for the Department of Public Works. Those are career opportunities to have partnerships with existing workforce development trainers in this programs in the city, with union apprenticeship programs that can train people, youth, returning citizens, anyone who wants to start a new career path, to get the training to have a job and come into a public sector job in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela, followed by Floyd Sims.
Thank you. So I just want to take this time to advocate that the budget be used to support workforce development aligned to all of the needed positions missing in the city that we've been hearing about through budget season, to provide living wage job development. And in the past, we have seen the ways in which the city council and the administration has invested money into recruitment, hiring, and retaining police. We would prefer that there's money invested in recruitment, hiring, and retaining people to work specifically for the drainage team in partnership with the Sewage and Water Board. We want to make sure that in addition to the Office of Resilience and Sustainability, that there's investment in local workers hired locally to support an efficient drainage system.
Thank you, Angela. Floyd Sims.
Good morning. I'm Floyd James. I'm speaking to support funding to sustain the momentum from Job One, both its infrastructure and the execution of the Mayor Summers Employment Program. Given the continued widening of skills needed by individuals to be prepared for the jobs of the future, it's critically important to keep supporting workforce development initiatives. Prioritization of workforce development, more specifically the Job One infrastructure, is vital for helping frame a more holistic economic development goal achievement, which is always a priority. I am compelled to remind the goal is to position New Orleans as a place where New Orleans has a ready now population of skilled workers, which facilitates growth amongst existing industry and is an asset with attracting new industry. Job One's infrastructure is a key enabler to achieve that particular specific goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. I give you a whole nother last name. I'm so sorry. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thank you all just for the opportunity, and I know we had full council, so just thank them.
Yeah, they're off to Baton Rouge to try to find us some money.
Much needed.
Thank you. Up next is Nora, New Orleans Redevelopment Authority. everyone.
I don't know, but I'm gonna announce it.
Whenever you're ready.
All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. We thank you for the opportunity for allowing the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority to come before you today to highlight some of our goals and accomplishments from 2025 and 2026. I first have with me at the table is the senior leadership at the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority, Tiffany Lawson, who's our controller, Derek Muse, who's our chief financial officer, a new member of our team, Adrian Celestine, who serves as chief real estate development, chief of real estate development and strategy. And also here with us today, who's not at the table, is the chairperson of our board, Adam Stump, who's here represented here in the audience with us today. Having said that, I will go through our overall presentation here for this afternoon. Just in reviewing our goals of 2025, the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority has 3 pillars of work that it has continued over the course of the past year and will continue into 2026, which speaks to building homes, which talks about increasing access to affordability for homeownership, creating generational wealth, leveraging NORA assets to return property to commerce. That area is highlighted as yellow, as all the other areas are green, and we are achieving all those other goals in the green. This yellow is really highlighted based on some of our dispositions. Although we've had an auction this past year, our disposition goals are slightly below what we wanted them to be, perhaps by about maybe 10%, but that was only through as of last Friday. We'd hope to be able to raise that and to move that forward. On our enhancing corridors, we're really focusing on reducing vacancy, improving commercial building exteriors through our facade program, and supporting economic development through along our key commercial corridors throughout the city. And last but certainly not least, our strengthening our neighborhoods, where we're speaking to repurposing and transforming large-scale, high-opportunity and publicly owned sites, and to bring those sites back in commerce. And our next one, to highlight some of our completions for 2025 as a concentration on our building homes, where we're creating affordable homeownership opportunities and rental opportunities across the city. We've got our neighborhood stabilization program, where we created affordable homeownership units in Central City. All of our units that we create or facilitate the creation of are all fortified gold units, which would include the windows, stormwater management, and making certain that individuals can return to their homes. We're excited yet again about our work for our Double Up Duplex, where we provide and create a homeownership opportunity along with an adjacent rental unit. We have worked with our partners at Home Bank, who will be doing the underwriting and will hold the long-term mortgage. We've already worked through that, and so we're in the midst of construction on that. 3 of the properties are in Central City and the other in Gentilly. The other is the continuation of our New Orleans Housing Investment Program, which is again our homeownership program, where we provide land at a deep discount along with some interim construction financing and some leave-in subsidy. And our 100-day challenge, where we challenged our development partners to complete a home from permitting to certificate of occupancy within 100 days. We're excited to say that they completed 2 of the homes within 75 days, and the other 2 they completed within 92 days. Excited about that, and our partners that were able to help us do that. I'll then focus on our enhancing corridors. When we talk about enhancing corridors, and we're talking about those things that are in a neighborhood that individuals need amenities and access to, and how do we build up those businesses and those other organizations who are working in those neighborhoods. We're excited about our small business marketing grant program, where we provided technical assistance by providing our marketing firm, to be able to work with 20 businesses who responded along our low to mod income corridors. Some of the businesses, they run from Bayou Road, Broad, New Orleans East businesses, 7 Ward businesses. There's a list of businesses that we provided that to, and they've completed their participation agreement, have had their first assessment with the marketing firm. What we learned last year when we implemented our small business initiative, where we provided grant funding to individual businesses that opened during COVID, that there was a need for marketing services. Those businesses are focusing so much on keeping their doors open that sometimes they cannot focus on how do I continue to grow our business. We felt that that was a need, identified that, and have in the process of implementing that, and excited to have to do that. We're fortunate enough to serve as the implementing agency with Agenda for Children with the Early Childhood Facility Grants. We have 5 of them that are currently under construction. Some of them are using former city-owned sites. Some of them are individual sites. We're excited about working with those partners and creating those early child care facilities. The 5 facilities that are indicated will create an additional 290 seats of early child care services for our citizens. We also excited about the Lower Ninth Ward redevelopment revitalization program. This council provided for funding for the identification and creation of a grocer in the Lower Ninth Ward. We have worked with the various Lower Ninth Ward neighborhood associations, economic development associations to complete the study. The revitalization study was completed. We've identified a potential location. Not only did we focus on the creation of a grocery store, but we also identified other opportunities that that neighborhood might need in order to grow that. I'll talk more about that and what we're doing and proposing for 2026. And we also have facade renew projects under construction. Those would be in New Orleans East, on North Broad, and along Bayou Road and North Broad. We're excited about those, and that total investment for enhancing corridors was about $4.2 million. And our third pillar of our work to report on the completion of our work for 2025 is focusing on strengthening neighborhoods. And we talk about that, we're really talking about repurposing large-scale properties in high-opportunity neighborhoods. Publicly owned really is what our focus has been on. And I'm excited to report back that in District C, we completed the construction of St. Bernard Circle on St. Bernard Avenue. That created 51 housing opportunities, with 40 of those being long-term. Again, gold, fortified gold, and LEED gold. We're happy to say that that is completed and 100% occupied, along with the creation of a mural for the rest of the community to enjoy. We're working as partners with the New Orleans Public School, talking about adaptive reuse of 2 of their large school sites that they did not put on auction, the Israel Augustine School and the Valina C. Jones School. We are shepherding the community development solicitation process and ultimately making a recommendation to the school board for the selected recommended firm. We've heard a lot of talk this morning about the need for housing for those individuals who are unhoused and how we might be able to participate in that. The Redevelopment Authority, along with the City of New Orleans, along with the Office of Community Development, identified sites, parcels along Tulane Avenue. There was some ARPA home funding that was made available. The transfer of the property took place to the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority. We currently have out a solicitation soliciting for a development partner to be able to develop and operate that. Based on the initial responses we've got back, proposals are due back on December 12th, and we're expecting multiple responses for that and excited about being able to do that. Our other work is really on the former Six Flags site. The demolition is complete. Just so happened, just as of yesterday, Entergy must have known we were coming here today because they energized the site, and all of the utilities and electricity finally got to be energized so we can start pumping some of that excess water off that site. And again, the Louisiana Avenue Firehouse is currently under construction, creating not only housing opportunities, but also early child care facilities, and expected to complete construction in January of 2026.
NORA currently has a full-time equivalent fan base of 28 people. We're expecting to grow that to 35 next year based on additional funding that we're planning to receive in 2026. Our organizational chart is here, and those highlighted in goals are the vacant positions that we're planning on filling in fiscal year 2026 going forward.
I'd highlight for the actual council our 2026 goals. Again, it's just a continuation of our work from 2025. The goals didn't change, but the work changed slightly in several key areas, and I'd like to highlight what that is. As we talk about rebuilding homes, which is our first pillar of our work, I just wanted to highlight for the council member and the general public our ongoing property dispositions. We're still moving forward with disposing of the remainder of our property in 2026. We started with about 5,200 properties to date. We have about 797, and that we're proposing to continue to use that, create other opportunities for disposition. Just this past year in our auction, we identified alternative land use as a disposition for our auction. That would mean there would be non-housing development that could take place, all in accordance with the city codes. On our building.
Can I interrupt you there
Yes.
really quickly? As we're talking policy-wise about blight and eliminating blight, I would love to be able to partner with you, as the city has done in the past, to get you these properties so that they can be properly auctioned off to homeowners, to small landlords, to small developers who take multiple
Yes.
and redevelop them into housing, affordable housing. And I know you and I have talked offline about that, but I just want to put it out there to the millions of people who are watching, that this is something as we go forward in this next term that we partner on getting those properties to you so that we can dispose of them quickly, efficiently, and for affordable housing purposes.
Oh, absolutely. Council member, to you and all the other members of the council, we stand ready to be able to execute. I'd highlight our 2026 Build Homes, which really is a focus on not only our ongoing work on creating housing opportunities through our homeownership, completion of some rental opportunities, but also focusing on the Housing Trust Fund. There have been various recommendations that have been made to the council. Our role is to implement, along with our partners at Finance New Orleans, what the current allocation is for a homeowner construction subsidy, which is the space that we live and work in every day. And really it's a recreation, or not even a recreation, it's a rebranding or naming of our current housing opportunity program, where we provide subsidy, some land if that's needed. The other is the homeowner occupied roof rehab. We recognize that individuals want to see this funding hit the ground and see the impact that it will make. So we stand in support of that and ready to execute, in addition to our small rental rehab, recognizing that there are opportunities that need to be made available for small landlords for units of 1 to 4, but with that funding comes a commitment to provide for an affordable housing opportunity as a rental for that individual. I think that's the key piece that goes along with that. Not only are we improving someone's individual property, we're creating that rental housing opportunity simultaneously. I'd like to talk about our enhancing corridors. Again, these are some new initiatives. Some of them are a continuation of existing initiatives. The other is new. As we talk about our small business marketing, I mentioned that we did that in 2025, and we're going to finish that out, but more importantly, we're going to do a concentrated effort and targeting the New Orleans East and Lower Ninth Ward corridors. They are on our LMI, low to moderate income corridors, and with the concentration of that, we plan on deploying an additional $500,000 for investment for marketing assistance. Our early childhood education facilities, the goal is to be able to award grants up to $2.5 million in grants to focus on facility improvements. We also will continue providing technical assistance in the form of architectural engineering services, as well as accounting and other business operational services as might be needed. St. Claude Revitalization Program, we have identified a potential site that was recommended based on the study. We are working with our partners with the Housing Authority of New Orleans to make that acquisition. Their board just authorized the acquisition of that site to NORA. They have to go to their special application center, but we're excited about doing that. But we are also excited about the opportunities to be able to bring a grocer to that Lower Ninth Ward community. Again, a continuation of our facade program. We have never done a facade program in the New Orleans East neighborhood. And what we are proposing for 2026 is to be able to concentrate on a few key corridors, working with the business and economic development communities in New Orleans East and identifying of our existing low to moderate income corridors where we can do that. There's a potential award for $1 million, but in addition to the New Orleans East, a concentration with the Lower Ninth Ward on Claiborne Avenue, but more importantly, along St. Claude Avenue in the Lower Ninth Ward, and the Food Incubator and the Micro Grants Program, which allows an opportunity for a construction of a food incubator on property that NORA acquired. It's just a furtherance of the completion of our work along St. Bernard Avenue. And this is a critical component for the city, not only just establishing and creating that food incubator, but also micro grants for businesses or individuals that are in the food business. And I'll highlight our very last 2026 program, which is Strengthening Neighborhoods. We're progressing along with the Esplanade de Lille with a desire to be able to close on that. That was a former city-owned property. We worked with our development partners, HRI and New Orleans Restoration Property. We've also worked with the city's Office of Community Development, the Office of Economic Development, to be able to work to identify the funding gap to do that. And if that happens, we'll be able to start construction before the end of this year, with construction complete at the end of next year. I've mentioned the Tulane Avenue non-congregate housing. While once we select a developer, financing will start, and we anticipate on starting construction. We're excited about that and the impact that could have on Tulane Avenue. Again, a completion of the Louisiana Avenue Firehouse, our NOLA Public School adaptive reuse. We have gotten great response from individuals who are interested in that adaptive reuse of those particular school sites, really with a focus on lots of interest from those former students or graduates of the Valina C. Jones School. And then wrapping us out is our work with our development partner, Bayou Phoenix, on project development over at the Six Flags site.
On our next slide, we'll go over our proposed budget for 2026. In 2026, we're expecting to receive grants from the city of New Orleans, a total of $26.6 million. That's an $11 million increase in grants over 2025. On the next slide, I can highlight some of the grants that we're expecting. The Housing Trust Fund at $6.7 million, the Six Flags an allocation of $5.2 million, and the Food Incubator at $4.8, mostly made up the $11 million increase over 2025. We have other restricted funding that we're receiving outside of the city of $8.6 million. It's a net decrease of $783,000 based on what was spent in the previous year, and we're just carrying over the remaining balance. to 2026. So NORA expecting to have a total of 35 million of grants in 2026. Any questions?
Yeah, council members, that concludes our presentation. We are here to answer any questions that you might have.
I do want to talk about the non-congregate shelter on Tulane. You're putting out an RFP not only to build it, but also for operation as well, which would mean supportive services within the building itself. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And we're excited about that. I got to tell you is that we've got great responses from those in that community who want to be able to respond. As a matter of fact, they're the ones that made the request that we extended so that they can continue to develop their partner relationship to put forth a very good response. We expect to get multiple responses.
Great, thank you, Brenda. Let's get a public comment. I'm sorry. Angela Kinlaw, followed by Paula Pete.
Greetings to you all. I just wanted to ask a question. You were talking about it a little bit, but I was wondering if you could go into a little more detail about how the relationship between your department works with the public schools, because I know you were talking about the Augustine and the Jones facilities, and just how that works, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. The New Orleans Public School identified 2 school sites that they were not going to put in the auction. They wanted to seek development opportunities for them. They contacted the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority to ask if we would lend our expertise to issue the solicitation, to conduct the community engagement meetings, and then from there make a recommendation to the ultimate school board. The New Orleans Redevelopment Authority staff and our board is not going to make the final decision. The Orleans Parish School Board will do that.
All right, Paula Pete, followed by Carol Johnson.
Have a good day, everybody. I don't even know what time it is in here. I'm Paula Pete, Director of Housing at Family Resources in New Orleans. We are an affordable housing developer as well as a homebuyer education training program. And I'm not sure if you guys saw the City of New Orleans Housing Ecosystem Plan. Have you seen it? It is awesome. And I think we really need to apply that, because as we grow housing, we need every expert or community resident who will have something to say to give input to it. I also would like to say that we want to say thank you to the committee who was assigned to actually put this package together. We are advocating for more housing for affordable single-family housing. We are number 4 in the nation with the highest rate of home ownership, and we're proud of that. And we also want to continue to become number 1. So we want to see that done, and we also like to see solar panels on those doubles and fourplexes so our clients won't have to pay high utilities.
Thank you. Carol Johnson, followed by Angela Vanderpool.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Johnson. I'm representing my company, Johnson Mortgage Services. I'm also a Hanover Board Commissioner. I just want to speak on behalf of the NORA Redevelopment Agency. They have done an excellent job with providing affordable housing. Hanover has partnered with them on several occasions, and we just think their budget needs to be in place, because right now affordable housing is where it is. And as a mortgage company working with NORA as well as the City of New Orleans, we have provided homeownership opportunities for many of our residents in the city, creating generational wealth as well as legacies. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Vanderpool, followed by Ty Xavier.
Good afternoon. I'm Ajal Vanderpool, and I'm here to represent, yeah, it's me, here to represent my company, as well as for those small real estate brokers, developers, and contractors. I did hear what you said, Council Lady, where you're going to extend the land, because I think it's very important that that land opens up and gives all the opportunities for developers. That's part of the issues that we're facing when we're working with contractors, developers, and putting affordable housing because of the cost of land. So I just want to say, thank you for that. I also hope that we can continue to find affordable housing rates or ways that we can collaborate, other initiatives that are put in place, because it is impacting not just the buyer, but also the developer as to wanting to participate in purchases here in developments in New Orleans.
Thank you. Ty? And then Erica Zucker, and to close us out will be Alton Willis.
Good morning, Council. I would like to begin by thanking NORA and the Office of Community Development for their efforts in preserving and increasing affordable housing throughout the city. Specifically, Councilmember Harris, I'd like to thank your office for your championing of blighted to affordable housing. That's something that my development firm is very interested in continuing to work on throughout the city. More specifically, I would like to advocate for the use of the Housing Trust Fund as it was voted on in the ordinance. That is in everyone's presentation. It's an integral part that everybody's kind of honing in on utilizing for us to be able to save ourselves. So that money was voted for by the citizens to be used for housing, and I'd like to see that actually happen as it was listed in the ordinance. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ty. Erica, followed by Alton.
Good afternoon, I guess we're in now. Erica Zucker, Workplace Justice Project. I always like to hear what's happening in our redevelopment world. Particularly, I'm listening for one phrase or two phrases: community development plans, community development agreements. We should not be doing any kind of large-scale opportunities, publicly development sites, any kind of economic development without community impact, without looking at community impact, without doing community development agreements, without making sure that the city, the developers, and the communities are on the same page going into the development. It's a way to ensure that we get the most bang for our buck, that we develop sites that are accountable and transparent, that are going to do the things that they say that we're going to do, that we're creating good jobs for the people that live in the city and benefiting the communities that they serve. So I'd just like to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alton?
Hello, Alton Willis, representing UDO Properties, a local development firm, small development firm. And I just want to put in my support for the Office of Community Development, NORA, as well as you, Council Person Harris. I really, in my co-developer, buddy of mine, colleague, he said everything I wanted to say, but I really want to hone in on the support for the Housing Trust Fund, that it be used with fidelity for local developers. I have been a beneficiary of already with 13 units, and my clientele are actually housing agencies, Stark Corporation, New Orleans Family Justice Center, of course, Hano, and the New Orleans Women's Battered Shelter. So I want to be able to work with NORA as well to look for and locate blighted properties so that I can continue on this work of affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you all. No further comments from the dais. No more comment cards. This concludes Housing Day. Thank you, everyone who was here.
Thank you, council members.